Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boy.
Okay, well look, we're recording, so and I'm excited because Alex, it's been like literally, I say a year and a half, and it feels like it's been longer, but I also feel like it hasn't been that long. It's a weird time we're living in, and now it's like it's crazy because the last time we recorded together, we were literally just sitting across from one another in a super
onto our street.
Yeah, and like the cluttered studio that we had. And it was just, it's such a different life, but so like, I don't know, such rewarding to look back on. I always feel thankful for those times. But now we get to just record virtually.
Which is like how it would have been anyway, probably. Well, I guess not because we live together, but the world is virtual now, so.
Isn't it the truth? Yeah. And honestly, I mean, but yeah, so, and now we're recording in like completely different circumstance. Like we kind of touched on it yesterday, and I love that even when we like talk about anything, we're like, oh no, let's save it for the podcast. Like,
I know,
just like it was.
Some things don't change. I
know. So
I don't even,
it's like, where do you even start?
Well, I was about to say, like, another thing that hasn't changed, I forgot what I was gonna say yesterday when I was like, no, I'll save it for tomorrow. Oh, no. I've already forgotten.
I did too. I highlighted a bunch of stuff, and so obviously, if you guys have listened before, you know that we were on track to do this book a year and a half ago, and then just life just got ahead of us, understandably so. And so I had read the book before, and when I was reading it this time, obviously for a refresher, I was like, why did I thumb this page down? Like I had a bunch of page like thumbed down. I had a bunch of random annotations that made absolutely no sense.
Oh,
like,
really?
You could tell it was on the train when I was writing it. So my like handwriting was like complete crap, and like I would like highlight random things. It's like, what is that? Why did I even highlight that?
Yeah, so, I forgot that we were gonna do this book even after you moved originally, right? That's what it was. Ambitious. Okay, yeah, I forgot that. Okay.
Yeah, we were definitely ambitious with that. So
April, okay.
Yeah.
It was April and May of 2019. I'm just looking at the last of our like Instagram post because I couldn't remember like what month it was.
Yeah.
Damn.
It's been over a year and a half then. It has to be like closer to 2 years, which is
almost.
Crazy. Oh my God. We're still loving on each other even after.
Yeah.
So
I know.
It's like, where do we even start? So Alex, let's start with you, obviously.
Oh gosh. We'll do
let's go into it. So what are you doing right now?
Well, right now I'm in Raleigh, which is 2 hours from where we used to be. I'm in school. I think in the last episodes that we did, we were talking about how I was going back to school, and I don't know if you had gotten the job yet, but
no, I think I actually listened to our podcast a bit ago, and it like actually wasn't that long ago. It was a couple months ago when we were talking kind of like, oh, we should do this again.
Yeah.
And so I listened to an episode, and I did listen to that episode, and it was like, oh, I'm gonna try and see if we can move, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go back. It was
everything was very like new, like when we recorded that episode, and then I feel like everything happened like so quickly after it, and then now we're like doing the things that we were like, we might do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. It's like thinking about like all, and I've started watching Dark on Netflix. That German I might have told you to watch it because I'm kind of like,
I think so.
I like weirdly like it. Gave me nightmares for like a week after I was watching it, though. It was crazy, but it's a really good show, and like a lot of the concepts are like about like time and just like, is time like a fluid thing? Can it be changed? Like, can you go back? And so it's like had me thinking about like time lately, and how like little tiny events can alter huge things in your life, like just deciding to kind of like buy a plane ticket and just go somewhere, or press an apply button and just, what I mean, like it's crazy, like the road you will take,
right.
And you think back on it and you're like, oh, that was kind of a small decision that led to this decision that led to this decision. But then knowing that, you also know that, oh my God, like I can make a tiny decision and it could completely alter my life.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. is that called like the butterfly butterfly effect, where it's like one small action like has all the ripples or something?
It sounds right. It sounds right.
I don't know. I think that might be a movie or something.
No, but I mean, I feel like I've heard that before. I don't know. And I have to say, this microphone that I'm using is so nice. And I didn't buy it, just disclaimer, I'm fucking cheap. This microphone was bought for work purposes, but it's so nice that you can literally hear everything.
I was about to say, it's like nice and it's at like a good distance from your face, but you sound so clear.
I did some tests with it beforehand. I'm glad that I did, because I would have been all up in this thing's grill, and this thing catches everything. And I also tried to put this red thing on it, and it just didn't muffle the sound. So if you hear me popping my neck, I'm going to try to not, because whenever I listen to my past episodes, I'm like sick and sniffling. It's like, Haley, just like put it off a couple more days, you know, like get well, then record, like instead of sniffling in everyone's ear for 2 freaking episodes. I'm a lot more cognizant of that now.
We also don't live in a house that's like making you ill anymore. Like that was definitely,
Alex, it like changed my life. And I've actually started taking allergy pills every night because I'm so allergic to Izzy that it's like so when I had my allergy test, dogs were one of the most things I was allergic to. And I sleep with her, I live with her all the time, and so I started taking allergy pills every night, and I feel like a new person. Like it's like, I definitely still have bad asthma, but it's nothing like it was when we were living in that house. That house
well, that's good.
So bad. I'm pretty sure the house was like insulated with horsehair. I know we joke about that, but and I am so goddamn allergic to horsehair. It's unreal. So I was basically just living in a beautiful, gorgeous, sun-drenched 1900s box full of mold. Like absolutely gorgeous, but made me so sick.
Yeah.
It was like those haunted houses that people move into and they like turn them into different people.
Yeah. It just made you sicker.
Anyway, so back on to you. So Raleigh.
Yeah, so Raleigh. I'm almost done with school. Yeah, go pack.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with school, which is funny because when we last recorded, it was just like what is it, like a glimmer in my eye, or sparkle in my eye, twinkle in my eye. But now here we are, like
my eye.
But yeah, so I'm almost done. I don't know what's gonna happen afterwards. But yeah, so that's exciting. It's like I'm like back in the position of being like, where will I be a year from now? Because like last year I felt pretty good. Because I was like, I'll at least be here for another year. I know that much.
Yeah. It's when you think about the unknown, when it's so far in advance, it's like, oh yeah, I got that. And then you get to it, and you're like, oh my God, do I have it? Do you have it? But if I know anything about you, Alex Jefferson, you got it. You got it.
Thanks.
You've been had it. You've been had it. You are it. But I mean, and now you live with your sister, which is such a great situation. And you know, your sister is such a freaking gem, and she's such a great, like, warm person to be around. So I'm glad you're like with her, and you have a new boyfriend. I was gonna say boy toy, but I feel like you really love him, which is just like so great. So I feel like I guess, you know, it's definitely more deserving of the boy toy. So
we're much better. Yeah, I feel like just all around, for both of us, I feel like we're just like elevated in life right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we're not two single old like dog ladies anymore. Now we're two single old taken dog ladies.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
I know.
Not me.
And now we work together again.
Yeah, I know. We can't stay away from each other.
I know.
I can't stay away from you. I'll just I'm puppy dogging, like, just.
Are you kidding? No, I reach out to you when I know we need some serious help somewhere, because you know, if anyone knows kind of us, they know that we've met at work. Like, we talk about it. You know, that's where I fell in love with Alex, and
that's where I fell in love with you.
That's right, girl. After the Portlandia soundtrack played over the soundtrack, what am I talking about?
That theme song. Yeah.
Played over the loudspeaker. We were like, all right, we're gonna be good friends.
I'll never forget that moment. We were like organizing the gifting table too.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, there's another girl out there that knows what Portlandia is and gets it on top of that. And it's not
Likes
just
it.
like, yeah. And so we worked together, and then we worked together briefly, just part-time, when you were helping me out with social media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we work together pretty much full time again,
Yeah.
working for the collection, the IBIX
Mm-hmm.
collection. So I just like, that's how I know you're gonna be good, girl. And that's why when we needed the person, I was like, I got just the girl. I was like, look no further. I got her.
Yeah. It's been so much fun. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, you kill it. You do a great job. And
Thanks.
and we have been able to kind of like rekindle stuff like that when normally, life just gets so busy. And when you get older, you just don't want to like, I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking for you here, but you just don't want to be on your phone as much.
No, especially now, like with this job, like being on social media 24/7, like when I'm not working, like I rarely have my phone. And it's kind of nice. It makes me feel like more like present in my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
But,
there are times I lose my phone and I'm just like, it's like, oh, nice. I lost my phone for a second. It's like under a pillow somewhere, but it's just, I'm like, oh,
not glued to it for a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're right. Working in social media really does kind of make you love and hate social media, I think. You love it for what it can do and where it can go. And
that's one thing that I've really liked about the job is just like how connected it makes like people like all around the world, like just seeing like relationships and stuff forming like from two people that like otherwise would have never met. Exactly. It's cool.
Yeah, and being able to kind of engage with an audience, I think is nice. So we've just been living the crazy life now.
Wait, so now your turn. What have you been up to since our last episode, Haley?
So
where to begin?
2 cars. I told my mother, Stephanie Morgan, beautiful lady black, I said, bitch, we going to New York City and I got 2 weeks to move. And she said, okay. she
was like, a trooper.
I don't know if I've ever probably talked about my mom on the show before, but she's like my hero. She literally drove me to New York City with me following her. So she had to worry about me driving the whole time because if anyone knows me, I'm a terrible driver. So this is a great place for me to be because I don't drive.
No cars.
My dad said he has never slept better in his life. And so my mom packed me up, literally took me to a hotel. We slept. Dogs actually weren't allowed. They ended up kind of looking the other way. Yeah, and they let us in with Izzy, my 70-pound pit bull mix who sheds and drools everywhere. They were nice enough to look the other way. Moves me in this busy-ass Brooklyn apartment underneath a highway. So flustered. Turns around that day, drives back to North Carolina, sleeps for a couple of hours, and then works 4 12-hour shifts.
Oh my God.
An ER nurse
I didn't know she did that. Jeez.
She is, when I say incredible, it's like, that Lady Gaga meme where she's like incredible, amazing, beautiful.
Yes.
That's my mother. Like she's incredible.
Oh, she is incredible.
I cried when she left. It felt like she was leaving me at college again for the first time, where it's just like everyone's gone. It's just me and her standing there. And I'm like, you're going to turn around and you're going to be 9 hours away. I've moved my nervous dog up here, like all my stuff's moved in. I wasn't really sure about the situation I was moving into. You're about to leave and everything's going to change. And it's going to be crazy. And we did. And I could not be happier, honestly.
Yeah.
This is like something that I've wanted to do my whole life. And, now that it's here, it's like every day living the dream. I feel like I could cry talking about it. And
I know. I feel like you're just like thriving, living like, because ever since I met you, like moving there has been like the dream and the goal. And like you did it and you're doing it so well and you're killing it still. So I'm just so proud of you. It just seems like you're living like your best possible life.
I'm about to cry because it's like, I remember like going, we had family that lived in Massachusetts, and we drove to see them one time, and we had to drive past New York on some bridge in Jersey. And I remember I could see the New York skyline, and I couldn't have been older than like 10 or 11. And I just bawled, and I wanted to go so bad. And I just bawled and bawled. And I was like, please, 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 just an hour. I just want to see it. And my parents were like, we can't. At the time, I didn't understand because I was like 11. Like, you can't just drive into the city for an hour.
Yeah, come on.
4 hours just to get in and park. So at the time, I was like, oh my God, I live with the worst parents ever. And then I finally made it there for my 16th birthday. And it just was like life altering. But now every day it's like, unfortunately, you know, just to be real, it's like, you know, New York is very full of very different people and like very weird people. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm combating like, no, Haley, this is the dream. You're living the dream. You're okay. Like, and then there's other times where I get like threatened to get stabbed on the subway, and I'm like, go home, like return to your parents, like go back to safety. Right, like where you know. I start thinking about our old Dock Street apartment, you know, watching Izzy run on the beach, and I start thinking, am I doing the right thing, you know? And like, and you know, I love Izzy, but she's not really cut out to be the most New York City dog. I mean, she was raised in North Carolina, so she doesn't love it here. So sometimes I feel like I'm being unfair, or like maybe I'm just kind of like not living a lie, or just like kind of just like forcing myself to be here because it's always been a dream. But then there's more days than not I'm like, wait, I love this place. Like, you get to see cool stuff. You can order a desk and it'll be there in a day because of everything's so close. And it's so, I guess
that is kind of like the cool part about the city, is like everything seems like anything you need is relatively close,
super accessible. Yeah, I moved to 73rd Street, and where I live, I have not gone on the train, Alex, no kidding, in like a month, because I work from home.
Wow.
But like, you know, if I need to run to the pharmacy, it's a couple blocks. You know, if I want to do this, that, all the restaurants are in the neighborhood are great. So it's like, why leave? Especially when it's cold and everyone's supposed to be quarantining anyway. So.
Right. Is that something that you're like happy about, or do you miss like having to commute?
Part of me misses having to commute though, but then like I'll go and commute one time. I'll like, okay, like, you know, I'll go downtown today. Like Dalton and I will decide to, you know, go downtown and get something to eat just for a change of scenery. And we'll get on the train, and somebody will push somebody off the train, and they'll smack their head really hard on the concrete, and they've spilled their stuff, and they're threatening to, like, you know, they're filming it. And it's like, you just see stuff like that and you're like, oh my God, like, why did I come out today? You know, or you see like cops like completely, like, sorry to get political here, but like completely like slamming people against walls for absolutely no reason. There's no reason 6 huge men should be on a small man. Anyway, so you'll see shit like that and you're like, I want to go back to the apartment. So yeah, so it's been like a really weird, in a way, almost like full circle, and we're still riding that circle together, sister.
I know.
That's how I know you'll be my friend for life. When I lived with you, I was like, Alex will be at my wedding. Like, she will be at my funeral. Like, Alex will be a friend for life. So yeah. Whenever you go back, it's just like, oh, let's get a picture of the house and let's run. Because
I know. Yeah. Let me drive past the house, send Haley a picture, which last time I think I sent you, but I saw Sam, the cat.
Beautiful cat.
I don't know if we talked about him on here, but Haley had a stray cat baby at our old house.
I loved that cat.
He's still thriving, and he looked like he was a thick boy. Like,
he looked like
he was taken care of.
That makes me happy. I loved that fucking cat, and that cat loved Izzy, and Izzy loved that cat. And like, I knew in my heart that I could never have him because I am, again, so allergic to cats. I think I've said 3 different things that I'm allergic to on here so far.
Cats, dogs, and horse hair.
Girl, and I got the list for you at the fucking, just like a CVS receipt, like down the street, how much stuff I'm allergic to. I've started eating right though, and it's really made an improvement on my like mental health and like physical health, obviously. So thank God for that. But yeah, I loved that cat. And that cat, I feel like every single morning I would come out and it would meow, like, can I please come in?
Oh yeah.
I wish I could just cuddle you up. But
Didn't he come in our house one time?
Yeah. A couple of times I had to chase him up the stairs. Get your ass back here.
I feel like I remember him coming in and just me like calling for you because I was like, I don't know what to do. Oh my God.
I've got Izzy running around pawing stuff.
Uh-huh.
So we actually are thinking about next weekend probably going to get another dog.
Oh my God. Wait, do you have one in mind or are you just going to go
looked on
look?
Pet Finder, and luckily a lot of the rescues up here are super strict. Like most require like house visits and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and like a pretty lengthy application process, which is great. So, and I actually saw that Craigslist took their pet section down because I was like, let me go look. You know, I hate that I'm having to like even just look, but let me just see if there's anyone on there that needs to get rid of a dog like right away. You know, that we wouldn't have to go through the bureaucracy of, I guess, adopting a dog like we did with Izzy, which is fine. But I'd rather take a dog like straight out of a bad situation than like a fostering situation. So I was like, let me just check. But they actually took that section off, which made me so happy because I know that there was like some, you know, dog fighting and animal abuse kind of going on.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to see that.
I've never thought about that, but yeah, that would be like an easy, like sort of like way to do it behind the scenes, unregulated.
Exactly. Sell dogs and chickens and stuff for like $1. It's crazy.
Damn.
But yeah, so we don't have a specific
exciting.
one. Yeah, I kind of just want to I'm looking for like another submissive dog for Izzy because she's just so sweet and so like
gentle.
Yeah, she's not an alpha dog at all, and so we don't need another alpha dog in the house. Yeah.
Do you have a preference, like big dog or little dog, or is it just kind of like you're just gonna see what happens?
You know, part of me says small dog only because now that I get up here, I realize even big apartments are pretty small, and so I don't want to like do another dog like injustice by not giving enough space. I mean, where we live now is fine for Izzy in like a medium to small size dog, but the only dogs on Pet Finders are all sweet little fat baby mama pit bulls. There's so many of them, and I know. And a lot of places up here still are kind of weird with the breed restrictions, and like you know, it's not as like strict as like Colorado or something, who actually just repealed that ban on breed.
Wow, I'm shocked that Colorado would be. I feel like that would be like a very dog friendly.
Yeah, it's there was I think it might have been Boulder, or if it was for the entire state of Colorado. It's definitely for like a bigger city.
Oh, I had a friend who I remember a while back he had a dog. I don't know what breed it was, but I remember him posting about like not being able to take it with him. I wonder if that was why.
Yeah, a lot of places do have breed restrictions, and like even in New York, like a lot of places won't let you in with a dog that's over like 40 pounds, and Izzy's without even trying to hide it is completely 70 pounds. Like she big, she's short, but she big.
Didn't we tell our old house?
Like, she was like 40 pounds. And I sent them a puppy picture. I was like, how old does she look in this picture? 6 months? Yeah, I sent it to her.
Yeah, she looked so little in it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember that.
The maintenance man like rolls up. He's like, that is a grown dog. Like, big dog. But freaking gentle giant. And, you know, so I would love a smaller size dog. But honestly, any dog that jives with Izzy, I will just take right out the gate. I'm not going to question the breed or the size or anything. Although I would love to have a smaller dog just for practical purposes.
Right. Are you going to bring her with you? Are you allowed to do that? Like to visit?
I don't know. See, since it's COVID, a lot of places are not allowing like really open visitations like that. It's more of like a I think you meet them online first and then you decide to kind of go through. I can't wait till there's a vaccine like pretty evenly distributed. Hopefully people decide to take it, but you know, so I can just have it and like not really have too much fear, you know, outside of other crazy strains. So I'm just like, I can't wait for it to get semi back to normal. I hate saying that because it's like
it's like what's normal.
Exactly. I've been thinking about sending Thinks a video because I'm about to order some Thinks because I'm like tired because I can't use tampons. So I think someone will buy me some Thinks.
Oh, really?
Should I just say it?
Honestly, Haley, it's a big life event.
I would say we can also like edit this out if it doesn't fit in, but I'll tell the story of my 2 vaginas really fast.
Please.
Because I think this is,
through it.
I've been trying to think, okay, like I want to tell people about this. I want to talk about, you know, what it was like to hear this.
Yeah.
What it was like to finally be like, okay, yep. And what it's like to not have a goddamn not UTI. IUD. I can't even have an IUD that I don't even know what they're called because I'm that disinterested in them now because I'm so pissed off I can't have one because I want one.
I was today called my gyno to set up a consultation. I'm terrified. I have a tight cervix.
So Dalton and I just started dating. Dalton and I are passionate lovers. I love that motherfucker. He's looking at me like, please don't. I'm not going to say anything too bad because I need to practice. But Dalton and I are passionate. I love that motherfucker. And I love loving on the motherfucker, right? So I thought, great. What does any other responsible 24-year-old girl, 25-year-old? 25-year-old.
I think you're 24 when you moved there.
Yeah, 25-year-old girl. What would any other responsible girl do? She would go get an IUD, like you just called your doctor to get one, right? To set up a consultation. So I track my happy ass to a gynecologist. No woman, I don't think, really likes going to the gynecologist. I'm sure there's a couple of weird ones out there.
I'm so excited to get to see mine.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's a couple
I love getting poked and prodded once a year.
No. So Haley's 2 vaginas. Your bonus.
The tale of Haley's 2 vaginas.
Sign up for our Patreon. You can get a bonus.
Wait, we should do that.
I thought about it.
Over your medical phenomenon.
I've been thinking about it. I think that before I do that, though, I have to get the pictures of it. The MRI that I had. Cool it, girl. I'm recording. I'm live. So go to the gynecologist, right? And I'm like, hello, gynecologist. It's already uncomfortable being here. Open up the pearly gates for him so he can see what's everything's in there, right? Everything is going normal. I'm super uncomfortable as usual. He's literally knee deep, well, I guess elbow deep side of me, stirrups and everything. He goes, okay, that's weird. I go, what's weird? I'm like laying down. There's like a light in my and this girl is like like standing over in the corner. And I even said to her, I was like, I hope I never see you on the train. And she was like, I hope I don't see you on the train either. I was like, you're seeing, and literally he was like, anyway. So got old Greg out to the world for everyone to see. She's looking beautiful. She's looking beautiful. And I'm like, what's weird? He's like, I'll tell you when I'm done. I said, no, you're going to tell me now. You can't.
I'll just like crush his head.
A pap smear and be like, that's weird, and not tell us. Yeah, exactly. Crush his head with my And so he's like, no, I'll tell you in a bit. He's like, but Haley, have you ever had an abnormal pap smear? He comes out, takes his elbows out, and he goes, I think, and I have to get an MRI and some other procedures done to confirm this, but I think you have 2 uteruses. And I said, what? I was like, I said, it was one of those moments where you just see yourself outside of your body and you're like,
you're just watching the moment.
When Hilary Duff in Lizzie McGuire, that little cartoon would come on where she would kind of space out for a second, and she's probably that was me. I was like, my first thought was
absorbing the information.
Does that mean it's harder for me to get pregnant? I was like, this could be a good
or easier.
Exactly. So
you got double the chance
to have twins. So yeah. So he goes, he said, so everyone when they're born, whether they're male or female, in the 3rd trimester, when the memes start going to the PPs or the memes, the Mimi, everybody starts out with a complete septum, right? And then that's where it drops or forms up. He said, so when
cool.
I should do a GIF for this because I'm showing you with my hands because it's hard to explain otherwise.
I'm imagining like a balloon.
He was drawing on a piece of like notepad that he just like found. He's like, yeah, so this is what you look like inside. I was like, this is a really official x-ray, but okay. And so this is what you could look like inside. It was like, you could just have this septum and it could be totally normal. And so he said, in the 3rd trimester of your mother's pregnancy, the septum was supposed to go upwards and disappear. Just a piece of skin, just a complete piece of skin. He said, yours stops 2/3 of the way in. And I was like, what does that mean? Explain to me what that means, because right now I'm hearing a lot of shit that I don't understand. So explain.
Yeah.
And he was like, so what that means is you could either have one whole uterus and 2 different vaginas, 2 separate vaginas.
Or cervixes?
I have 2 different cervixes too. So long story short, again, I went to go get an MRI after a very, very other painful procedure to see if my other uterus worked, which involved injecting me with blue liquid. And it was one of the worst pains of my life. It was,
oh my God,
I was violently shaking, and literally the doctor, who's a man, goes, I'm sure it's not that bad, honey, you're fine. And the woman, the nurse,
my God,
who's a woman, looks at him and goes, she was like, I don't think you can tell her that. He was like, yeah, you're
good.
Right. I know. I was like,
oh yeah.
But she was also gasping at the screen that they were looking at because they just had not
gasping.
Like it. Yeah, and I was like,
Haley.
Like I'm like violently the worst pain I've ever been in, Alex. Like worst pain. I would get my ribs tattooed for 7 hours. I'm not kidding. The pain was unbearable, and it's because they were sticking tubes up 2 sides of my vagina. So my vagina is split in half. Is what I'm trying to say. So I technically have 2 vaginas. So when kind of MRI done, I have 2 vaginas, 2 cervixes, and 2 completely functioning uteruses. 1 vagina. So that doesn't mean I'm like a double wide down there. Everything's compact, like a cute little peach. But one is a very, very small one, and the other one is a less than normal sized one. It was an incredible find. I called my boyfriend immediately and I said, you are the luckiest man alive, because now you can tell everyone your girlfriend has 2 vaginas. Yeah, so it was one of the most surreal, most kind of like, yep, that would happen. Yep. Moments of my life.
If somebody in my life were to have 2 vaginas, it would be you. So like when that happened, I was
like not even shocked. You're like, wow, but
not even like that shocked. I was just like, just tell me more. Like I'm fascinated.
It was crazy. If you hear that lapping in the background from this like studio mic, that's my dog deciding that now is a good time to eat and drink. So just okay, so 2 vaginas out, 2 bitches in. Let's talk about Silence on the Lambs. I had to look at the book. Can you believe that? That's how long of a day I've had.
I was FaceTiming Cole right before we called, and I was like just talking about the book, and I was like, I don't even know who the author is. He has my copy of it, and so he looked at it, and I don't remember. Thomas something?
Yeah, Thomas Harris. Yeah, good.
Nice.
I mean, it's like one of the most vanilla names. No offense to Thomas Harris, but anyway, so the book. I'll just get started with the book because I think that's usually how we start with the book. So actually, I originally, when I first texted you, can you do blah 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 the research on the film? I was like, okay, I'm gonna give Alex like the one that I know there's a ton of information on, right? And like I'm gonna look up this book, and there's gonna be some really cool like information on that, we're gonna have to like research, right? Literally nothing, almost nothing on Thomas Harris or the book. And this is because Thomas Harris hasn't given a formal interview since like 1989 or something like that, or 1975, long time. So he was born in 1940, so he's 80 years old now.
Damn, is he still alive?
He sure is alive and kicking. I don't know where he's at. I know he was born, I want to say in Tennessee, which would make sense that Starling is, like this
Virginia.
Yeah, West Virginia.
Or she's from,
kind of like, Southern in the best ways, I think, kind of character. And so he hasn't given very many interviews at all. So there was not a ton of stuff on him, but there was a recent New York Times article that was like 2 years old that I was able to kind of see what he was up to. So Silence of the Lambs, I'm just going to read literally off of Wikipedia here because that's just what I do. School's over.
Wikipedia is a wealth of knowledge.
It is. So Silence of the Lambs is a direct sequel to Thomas Harris's book Red Dragon. Silence of the Lambs is a psychological horror novel first published in 1988. It's a sequel to the 1981 novel Red Dragon. Both novels feature the cannibalistic serial killer Dr. Hannibal Lecter, this time pitted against FBI agent Clarice Starling, which, by the way, I love that name, Clarice. So like I said, not a ton of stuff on the book. It wasn't like a juicy kind of like person, kind of like, of course, Bret Easton Ellis from American Psycho, who kind of had a lot of tea with his life. And I think a lot of the tea was like around the movie and the book. So this wasn't,
similarities to the character.
Yeah, exactly. So there was no like real tea session, but I know that he's doing well and he's thriving in his retirement. And he actually just released a book a few years ago. And I just wanted to talk about it because it's his first time since his 1975 debut book, Black Sunday, which is the first book in the Hannibal Lecter kind of series. So it's Black Sunday, Red Dragon, and The Silence of the Lambs.
And then is the next one Hannibal? Let me see.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he wrote a book called Hannibal. Thank you. I
think it's just like it follows. Well, spoiler alert, like because Hannibal escapes, but like I think it's just like what transpires after that with all that. I don't know. I bought it like after I finished this book, and of course I haven't read it yet.
Well, now you're like in the mood.
Later.
Yeah. So so he did write Hannibal. And so this is his first book since kind of the Hannibal Lecter series has ended.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote this book called Carrie Mora, sorry. And I think it's interesting. I just wanted to touch on it because I'll read just a quick summary. It is about a Colombian refugee who works as the caretaker of a Miami Beach mansion that once belonged to drug lord Pablo Escobar. Carrie lives with a constant dread of immigration officials that will revoke her temporary protected status and finds herself caught between two rival criminal networks that are vying for rumored riches buried under the mansion.
Very interesting.
I think it's interesting that he literally, his next book, I mean, obviously Hannibal Lecter is like his main character, but I like that he like chooses to write from the female point of view. And obviously we'll get into this, but I think he does it pretty well.
Very well.
Surprisingly, it's not too cliche to where you're like, a man definitely wrote this from a female's point of view. Like it could very well, it's definitely kind of, I don't know, definitely you can't tell it's from a man's point of view, but when you find out it's from like a male author, you're like, okay, I can see that a little bit in this book. But
the male gaze isn't like as like when we were talking about virgin suicides and how like those girls were just, because I read something in the book today. I finished listening to the book. And I remember there was a paragraph where he was describing something about Clarice, but I just really liked the way, like it just made her sound very strong and just, I don't know. And I remember thinking like, wow, that's nice considering like this guy is a dude writing about her.
Right. Anyway. Exactly. Yep. There was a couple times where I had that sort of like, okay, like, this is like a good writer who's interested in like the experience and not just like, Clarice got out of the shower and it was steamy, and it's like no one cares. Like we're talking about an FBI agent, because like sometimes I feel like like
water is dripping down her, like
and
what is this, clavicle? What is this bone? It's like collarbones. Oh my god,
collarbone. They're clavicle bones. Clavicle sounds like something you would get on like a long ride at sea. Like, I haven't had any vitamins. I have clavicle. I don't know. It sounded right.
I hate that we're doing this over video because I'm just like laughing like silently.
Yeah. No. So definitely no like sexual clavicle moments. So it was super nice. So I'll let you talk about the book now. And
The movie.
Yeah, the movie I meant. The movie, speaking of Clarice.
Clarice. Well, the movie, we'll get all into our own opinions on that. But movie was 1991. So it's interesting that you said that the author hasn't really like had any formal interviews since like the 80s. Because like when the movie came out, at least like my impression was that it was a very big like deal, and like it's a classic movie. Yeah,
definitely.
Like the story is like one of a kind. Anyway, so that's interesting that like the author didn't, I guess it was a different time, but like the author didn't like hop on board with the publicity train.
Yeah, he genuinely seems like kind of like a George R.R. Martin, like, you know, very intelligent, very intro kind of perspective. Like you're not gonna find him kind of like at least
wanting to be out. Yeah,
kind of just on like quick judgments. He definitely seems like the quieter type. So
so we got Sir Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter, and then Jodie Foster played Clarice. Did you know, or do you know, if Jodie Foster did that accent for the movie, or if that's like her normal speaking voice?
I think Dalton actually asked me the same question. I'm pretty sure that's her accent. I think she kind of embellished it a little bit for the movie, but I'm pretty sure in other interviews that I've seen with her, she does have definitely a little bit of a southern twang to her. And she's one of the first kind of openly gay
is she?
Of that time.
Nice.
This was this is around the time of like Ellen and all of that, when she was first kind of like getting kicked off air, and like, you know, because she was like openly gay and stuff. So Jodie Foster is, she's an incredible
nice
person, it seems.
Well, that's cool.
And she seems like she stays out of the limelight relatively as well.
She's like, she's a name that I always hear, but like I don't see her in a lot of stuff.
I remember her like presence had an effect on me the first time I watched this movie. And the first time I watched this movie, I don't know, I had to been definitely in elementary school. My parents.
Wow, really?
Yeah, my parents. And I told Dalton that. He was like, "Oh, get him, you know, desensitized early, I guess."
Yeah.
I remember it wasn't, I don't think it was like a film that they were like, "Oh, let's sit down and watch this as a family and like let's play a board game." It was like, "Oh, this is on, like our kids in a room, like we don't really care."
Right.
The internet is coming. I'm gonna see much worse.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I only saw it for the very first time back in 2019 when we were going to do the episode. And prior to that, I think I had done like a scene for it in like one of my acting classes. So, and I knew like the story and the gist, but I didn't see it until I was like, however old, 22 at the time.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I know.
20, I don't know how old I was.
You're about to turn 25.
25.
Yeah, I know. And I was actually thinking about the other day, I was like, "Oh, February." So I'm like, "Oh, it's Alex's birthday."
Hell yeah, we're almost in
Pisces season.
Yeah, I guess we have to go through Aquarius first.
I'm hoping that we just, you know, we'll just be locked down through all of that and we just won't even know what's happening. I feel like Pisces hits you from the inside. Like Pisces,
you can't escape
anywhere
it
in the world, any time of the universe, and your Pisces season will get you won't.
Oh yes.
So
you're gonna get Pisces.
Exactly. And so it's actually so weird too, because I was looking up the author and people are saying he was born on September 22nd, 1940, and people are saying April 22nd, 1940. And I have seen those two dates from two different like reputable sources. So I'm like, which was he born in? Because at first I was like, oh, great, he's a Libra. Like this should be easy. And then it was like, no, it says April 22nd, but this one says September. So he might have birthdays. I don't really know. I have two vaginas. He has two birthdays.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know when he was born. I just know it was 1940, and it was on the 22nd of some month.
of two very different months.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I was like, how can you get those two mixed up?
Yeah, that's September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April.
That's
that's like
interesting that
almost
you
half a year
counted
apart.
from September.
I don't know
to
why I
April.
did that.
That's really
I don't know why I did that.
Let's think about that later. Let's go into that later. So
my brain is like shutting down for the evening.
No, I know it.
Like, let's do it the hardest way possible.
I had a meeting with our boss today at 9 a.m., which of course I'll fill you in on tomorrow, but we have a meeting tomorrow. So I was up and at him pretty early. I was like dying talking to him. So I'm like exhausted.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the book.
Let's get into it.
So can we talk about the book and the movie alongside it? Do we want to just do
I say so, because I feel like, I mean, obviously the book had so much more going on in it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the book did have so much more going on, and there was so many times where, and I actually hadn't seen the movie in a while. So after I read the book for the second time, you obviously pick up on things you missed the first time, and then you watch the movie and you see it with like two completely different eyes. So like if you see the movie without any context of the book, the movie is fucking fantastic. Like instant classic. Everyone wants it. Give me that on VHS, cassette tape, DVD, whatever. I even like almost bought it on Amazon Prime last night. But
that's what I had to rent it today to watch it.
It was $3.99 to rent and $4.99 to buy, and I was like, "I'll
just
rent
spend
it."
that extra $1.
Well, no, that's why they literally make money off of idiots like me who are like, oh, I'll just rent it and like press the rent button, and they are scared of people like you, Alex. People like you are strong because you're like, that's $1.
Oh no, I rented it.
You're with the crowd.
Yeah, I probably won't watch it again ever though, so it's okay.
Yeah, I know. It was one of those movies where it's like it'll take a lot out of you, but like if you see that movie without the context of the book, it's a fantastic movie. But then when you see it with the context of the book in mind, and if you're obviously a fan of the book, it's like this movie has cheated this book. Like it's still a great movie no matter what, but like it didn't do the book as much justice as I think it could have. And it still was 2 hours long, and that's a lot for that time period.
Yeah.
So for the 80s, so it's because I even looked at it because they were like missing small things, like just simple things like Jack Crawford's backstory with Bella.
Yeah,
they
that's
didn't get
what
into that
say.
at all. And so I was like, this movie must be like really short or something. Maybe that's why. And I looked and it was 2 hours long. I was like,
it went by very quickly.
It does.
Like,
it does.
It moved very fast.
It does. I would love to see like Quentin Tarantino do something like this where he's like has for lack of a better word, the balls to make a 4-hour, 5-hour long movie with an intermission. Like it needs that, I think. So.
Yeah, I think it should be a limited series and you delve into all of the Crawford backstory, the Buffalo Bill story. And that was another thing that the movie left out, which like just like a lot of the Buffalo Bill character. And their struggle with like wanting just like gender identity and like their like mommy issues and stuff. So I don't know.
No mention about the mommy. Yeah, that was something that I did not remember from the first time I read. I don't know if I like glazed over it and like just was like, I'm gonna forget that. Like it was kind of disturbing. But we can definitely get into that because it's such a it's like it says so much like about Buffalo Bill, and the fact that they didn't mention, I think you're right, like it really kind of cut him down in dimensions. I think it just turned him into like a boogie monster with no backstory. So there's really no reason to be scared of him other than the fact that he was like violent and like obviously kind of a freak, quote unquote, for a time like that. So I was pleasantly surprised though, speaking of Buffalo Bill, on kind of his gender identity problems. I was impressed with the way that Thomas Harris, the author, handled that. I love the way like how respectful he was kind of with it. He even went into so far as to kind of like, that doctor, I think it was a Johns Hopkins.
Hopkins,
that was at first kind of, you know, denying their request to look into their applicant list. It was, even from the doctor's point of view, he was kind of viewed as like an antagonist because he wasn't allowing for the case to kind of further. He was still a protagonist in the way where he was like explaining, like, you know, these are generally submissive people, you know, well, they were calling them
transsexual,
yeah, which we now know is transgender. These are like docile people. These are people that generally don't pick fights with other people, and generally you don't see being serial killers, you know, when you're thinking about profiling a serial killer.
Well, and he also made the argument too. He was saying these people already have like a hard enough time. Like the idea that this like Buffalo Bill serial killer might be like a transgender person, just like sort of shines like such a negative light on it too. And so he was like really defensive about that they'd even like try to like link that, even though that's what it ended up being. But I don't know, especially for the time period.
Yeah, and it was very much like American Psycho, where the setting was the same, where it's like the late 80s, like you're still seeing that like AIDS crisis like completely flared up terribly in the 80s, and like how badly people, any sort of LGBTQ, anyone was being treated, you know, even if they didn't have AIDS, still being treated really poorly, and a lot of misconceptions going around about transgender people and people that do cross-dress because they are different. And you know, there's a lot of misconceptions, and people are so scared of things they don't understand. So assigning that characteristic to a serial killer like is almost adding to that fear a little bit, but I think he made up for it in kind of explaining the complexities, and that Buffalo Bill wasn't actually transgender. He was a confused person who hates himself. He's probably asexual. He was like, didn't really want to see himself naked. He didn't want to touch himself. You know, I
didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. And it would, you know, in the book, they talked about how he would get dressed and undressed to get into the shower like quickly, and would like not look at himself. And so, and that's a trait in some asexual people, or some people that are struggling with some sort of like sexual kind of identity disorder, not disorder, but crisis, I guess. And so it was, I wonder if maybe the actual time period that it was written in maybe had something to do with kind of playing like, yes, this is a serial killer with like this dimension to him, but you know, these are real people with real struggle that someone is just misidentifying with because he's confused himself.
Yeah. Which is what ultimately led the doctor to like help them, because he was like a patient that would have been denied instead of like like operated on and whatnot.
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that part in the movie where he like sticks his, and I love that they've included it even in the book, or they included in the book and in the movie, of him like sticking his penis in between his legs and has a little bit like a little mangina, and I'm just like, you go, honey. I was like, I love when guys do that. Cracks me up. But yeah, Buffalo Bill, I like I said, I think the movie really did it injustice not explaining those mommy issues. I'm glad you brought it up, because it's like his mom, he idealized this woman that, I hate to say it, might have hated him, you know, when she was like,
did she abandon him?
She did, yeah, and like drank herself,
like,
pretty much to having him to the point where he had like the government came and collected him and put him in foster care because she was drinking herself so much, like to death. But you know, but he had this ideal view of her because she was like this beauty queen, you know, in her day. And, you know, she was a pageant queen, and she was kind of got pregnant with him right when she lost the pageant that he has on tape. She was like 1 month pregnant with him or something. And then that's when she started drinking after that. So it was probably like a situation where that, you know, she got knocked up and the dad decided not to stick around. You know, so obviously kind of sometimes in a way don't blame her for not really knowing what to do, you know. And if you depend on your body and your looks to you know, get money and notoriety for pageants and stuff, having a baby completely changes that. So
yeah,
you know, it's like it sucks for him, and you almost feel bad about him because of his backstory, but then it's like at the same time he's like wearing women as clothing.
Right. Yeah.
You're so right. But I feel like the author was really good at doing that, because I feel like he did that with Hannibal too. Hannibal Lecter, like, really kind of gave you all the sides where you could kind of choose, like, is this like an misunderstood like antagonist, or like, should I feel bad for this person? Really great writing though. Really great.
It really is. This was probably, out of all the books, I can say like with like 100% confidence that this has been my favorite book, just because of the writing style and everything. Yeah,
his writing style is definitely manageable. And I like excuse me, I'm sure, I don't know if it's different for audiobooks, but with reading it, there's so many chapters, and they work like scenes do. So I love your comment about like making it to a short series, like on Netflix or like Hulu or something, because this is definitely like a book written for a short series. Like, and they didn't have such things as like short series on like daytime television in the 90s and 80s, and now they do. So it's like, why not jump on it?
Why not? When we read this, I like talked to my uncle, who like is in film and like is like in with Netflix to an extent, and I was like, what would the probability of like being able to like write a limited series and like do all that? And he didn't shoot it down, but he was like, just with the trademark and the copyright and this and that, like it would be such a hard thing to do for a nobody. Because I was like, I'm gonna write a limited series about this, and
you would do an amazing job. I have absolutely no doubt.
But I think like freaking Ryan Murphy or somebody should, but like do it justice.
Yeah.
And like do all the characters justice.
About Ryan Murphy.
Wait, so should we give like a brief summary of the story, just so listeners know where Buffalo Bill fits in?
Yeah, you're actually exactly right.
Because we're like, I'm enjoying this conversation, but I realize we haven't done a summary.
Yeah, you are correct about that. Do you have a nice summary on the back of your book? Because mine is just quotes. Because
I don't have my book.
How old this is. Oh, then let me read the summary. Plot summary. Clarice Starling, a young FBI trainee, is asked to carry out an errand by Jack Crawford, the head of the FBI division that draws up psychological profiles of serial killers. So, like, real life CSI, real life Criminal Minds.
They're at Quantico, right?
Quantico. Yeah, Quantico. I love that name. I'm like, where did that name even come from? I'm sure it's like, it sounds French or something.
It does.
Starling is to present a questionnaire to the brilliant forensic psychiatrist and cannibalistic serial killer, which is a very long sentence, a very old-fashioned sentence, Hannibal Lecter. Lecter is serving 9 consecutive life sentences in a Maryland mental institution for a series of murders. So Crawford's real intention, however, is to try to solicit Lecter's assistance in the hunt for a serial killer dubbed Buffalo Bill, whose modus operandi involves kidnapping overweight women, which, by the way, I take offense, because overweight women, when they were explaining it, I was like, that's my body type. And I ain't overweight.
Yeah, no, it doesn't even sound overweight.
Small titties and a big butt. I was like, hey, it's me. And then she was like, yeah, 145 to 165 pounds. And I was like, she was like, she was fat. I was like, Jodie.
No, that's probably the most controversial thing about that book.
Yeah, and you know what? That's where it's like, oh, a man wrote this.
There you go. Yeah, that's a good example.
And so, this man is starving them for 3 or 4 days, and then killing and skinning them before dumping their bodies in nearby rivers. So he's like he's like skinning actual parts of them. So this is a huge summary, but that pretty much wraps everything up. And so Clarice Starling is the kind of the protagonist, the main character of the book, besides Hannibal Lecter, obviously. So she's having to solicit help from him to catch a current serial killer, Buffalo Bill.
And she's a student too. She's not even like official FBI yet.
Exactly. She's like in her last 2 months of FBI Academy, about to graduate, when Catherine Martin, who is Senator Ruth, was it Ruth Martin? Something like that.
Know.
Senator Martin, they call her Senator Martin, who is a pretty high-powered senator in Tennessee. Is that right? Tennessee?
Oh God, I don't remember.
Pretty sure it was Tennessee. I'm pretty sure it was Tennessee.
It sounds right.
Yeah, and so her daughter gets kidnapped one night by Buffalo Bill, who is kind of faking an injury and backs her, and he's trying to put a sofa in his car, a piece of furniture in his car. And he is like, oh, like, trying not to ask for help, but she's like a nice person, which is, I think it sucks so bad because, you listen to like any crime junkie, like crime podcast.
My favorite murder is
exactly
fuck politeness.
Fuck politeness. Don't be nice. But it's like, I feel like you, Alex, me, like we would probably, maybe not at night, there's some man with a van knowing now, but maybe back in the 80s, things are different back then. But serial killers were also rampant in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and a little bit before that too. So it's like, I still wouldn't, but you see a man struggling who has an injury, he's trying to get something in there, really struggling to do.
I think it said he had like a cast on or something.
And so you want to help him because you don't want to be an asshole. And she had come out to her car for a split second. When you come out to in the book, in the movie, she just gets home from.
She didn't even go inside in the movie.
No, and
because in the book it's like she was inside and then she like decided to go back and help him.
Right, and she was inside in the book with her boyfriend watching a movie and decided to go out and run out to her car for extra popcorn or something like that. It was like one of those like. She ran out to her car to get something super quick. Didn't even lock the door. I don't think she latched the door, and was gone.
Oh, she put the latch down because that's how they knew that like she was anticipating coming back, but then like she never came back. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just like one of those nights where you're just like hanging out with your boyfriend. You just walk to your car to grab something, and you're in like a nicer neighborhood, a nice-ish neighborhood, and you kind of have that privilege your whole life and you never think anything like that's going to happen to you, and then before you know it, you've clonked on the back of the head and you night in the back of the
Buffalo Bill's next victim
and living in a well for a week. So Buffalo Bill in the movie, just to get back there, what I was really disappointed in with the movie, and this is like such a minor thing, I think, is the fact that he did not talk to his dog Precious like he does in the book.
Oh yeah, that was a highlight of the book, was that relationship.
I was so looking forward to listening to Buffalo Bill's like doggy voice. Like, everyone has a dog voice where it's like, you could make that sound. Like, it's like, so everyone has an annoying dog voice. I was really looking forward to it. And I, for some reason, thought in the movie they featured it more, because I even said to Dalton, who hadn't seen it, he had seen like the first couple of minutes, I think, and he hadn't seen the rest, and we watched it last night. I said, oh, this guy like talks to Precious like how I talk to Izzy, like very like, like she's like this gum bear of a daughter that I was just like, ooh, all the time, just like, but I talk to her like a normal human, where I'm like, he's like, give me a kiss, and the dog like ears perked up, and he's like, not you, sugar. Like, that's how I talk to Izzy. And then he didn't talk at all like that to the dog. I was bummed. So I think that they should have included that, because I think it would have also added, I think, a little bit of a comical kind of element to the film. But maybe the director just didn't want any comedy involved.
It really seemed like Buffalo Bill was such a like forgotten character in the movie, because like little things like that make him just like a more like rounded out character in the book. They just like, there's none of that. It was just like he was just a bad guy that was put there to like drive the plot, and that was it.
Do some weird stuff. I love that part where he's like, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I was like, I've had moments like that before we go out to opera room where I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you're feeling yourself in the mirror.
You go look, okay, and then I get out and you take one picture of me and I'm like, we're going home now. Like, I look hideous. I miss that low light.
I miss just like getting like all like cute and going out. I don't do that anymore.
You say this, but no one listening knows that you would go through like 20 outfits and then finally like, fucking, I'm putting on black jeans and we're going, Haley.
I'd wear the same like, 3 things.
Before I get angry, let's just leave. I remember at one time you were like, Haley, let's just leave before I change outfits again. But then I would do the same thing, and then I would come back in to my room like later on that night, like a little bit buzzed, and there'd just be clothes all over. Like, why didn't I have
just a mountain of clothes?
I didn't have the forethought to maybe put them back on the hanger. Nah, they going on the floor.
They would stay on like the corner of my bed for like a week after that too.
Exactly. So I I get Buffalo Bill when he talks to his dog and, you know, kind of dances around in his mirror. It's really sad. It's really sad because it's like, that's like a forgotten person. And that's what, you know, it's so tough because I'm huge, and you are as well, like listening to crime podcasts are like kind of like something we just love to do. And like, you know, being someone that loves true crime so much, like you never really attach like human characteristics to like when they're talking about like, you know, serial killers like John Wayne Gacy or like who's the I'm pretty sure it was John Wayne Gacy is the person who made like the nipple belt, who Buffalo Bill was kind of inspired by.
Oh,
was that John Wayne Gacy, or was that he was the guy that was kind of a lowly inherited?
Yeah. Who am I? I'm thinking of. Why do I think John Wayne Gacy was the clown?
You're right. He was the clown. Nope, you're right. But there was he had a very similar name.
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. That's right, because that was in that was in American Psycho. Remember, he was like, "I want to take her head and put it on a stick." That's what Ed Gein said, and we were like, "No, Ed Gein didn't actually say that." But so you like hear about these serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer and all this stuff, and you just like don't think about like all the lonely moments that they really went through to get to that point. You don't really want to think about it because they did awful things to people.
Right. The fact that they were even like people with emotions and like struggles. And that led them to how they became. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
It's hard to put like those human characteristics onto them. They almost don't even seem like they were real people.
Right. I think that's why it's so easy for people to kind of like put them up on pedestals. Sometimes, you know, people will have like shirts with like Jeffrey Dahmer's like face on it,
or like Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy
has the weirdest.
Hot. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all?
When they made Zac Efron Ted Bundy in that movie, I was like, this is not like
y'all reaching.
And like we don't need to sexualize Ted Bundy
enough. He's already sexualized enough. Even in their 2020, like there's still women out there that, you know, if they could get their hands on him, they would. I think he's dead now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think he was put to death.
Anyway, but I think this book does a good job of that, and I think the movie did a pretty poor job of that. So if you want to, we can even switch gears and start talking about, I think, how like the differences between like Dr. Lecter in the movie and in the book.
Oh yeah,
and just Dr. Lecter in general. Or should we talk about leave Dr. Lecter for last?
Let's start with Clarice. Just because she's like who we follow throughout the whole book, which I also liked how the book switched between her perspective, and then it went to Hannibal at some points, and then it went to like Crawford and Buffalo Bill. I like how it sort of jumped around, but mostly we followed Clarice throughout the whole story. But do you know how old she was, or like supposed to be
in the book? I want to say if I'm like thinking, she's probably like in her mid-20s, early 20s.
Okay, because I was wondering, I was like, how old do you have to be to like train to be in the FBI? Because 20s just seems young, but I guess late 20s.
Yeah, because I feel like with FBI, like you have to go to the police academy first, and then, or maybe you can bypass that though and go to like, because I think she was saying that she'd been to like boarding schools and like,
because if you're like Virginia,
UVA, right? And they'll like they can line you up because she went to the Army as well, right? So like you can line up for the kind of that, but I think the traditional route is like police kind of. So she's got to be like in her late 20s.
Yeah. Okay. But she's just like she's a star student. Like you can tell that she like works really hard and like wants to do well.
Yeah. And she was saying that, you know, her family, and I've related a lot to this, her family didn't go to school. And so when it finally, the generation kind of got around to her, and even like her uncle and like her parents, like education was a huge thing for them. And it was like her path out. Like, you know, it was her way of getting out of kind of what she was almost destined to be like for the rest of her life. So I thought it was, you know, the fact that he kind of emphasized that, especially for the time period. I mean, I know the 80s wasn't that long ago, but it kind of was. And yeah, I think she's just a super interesting character, like through and throughout. And I think he did a great job. We mentioned this earlier, but writing from the female perspective without it being too cliche all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I feel like even a female person writing about a female character can still be cliche because there's cliches and everything. But I feel like he did a pretty good job at kind of establishing her as like a very young, naive, but very independent and like headstrong person.
Right.
And I feel like the movie didn't. I feel like the movie, she was kind of meek, you know.
Yeah, very like unsure of herself. Like in the book, she seemed like there were moments where like when she got really angry at Dr. Chilton, like that sort of showed her like greenness, but like for the most part she just seemed very sure of herself and like willing to like take risks in order to like achieve whatever she had her like mindset on. But yeah, in the movie she was definitely very like, I don't know, it seemed like she was like easy to be pushed around and stuff, which didn't really line up with the book.
Yeah, it kind of pissed me off in the very beginning when she's first getting taken to Lecter's, I almost said cage. I guess it is technically a cage. We'll definitely get into that. But his cage, and the whole time that, you know, Dr. Chilton, when she first showed up, hit on her in a much more direct way.
Very
pretty much was
aggressively.
like, what are you doing tonight? Like, me? No, I'm not. She was like, she shut that shit down quick. And he like, you know, briefs her on the way to Dr. Lecter, and then they get there and he's like, she's like, oh, I'll just go down by myself. And he's like, you could have told me that in my office and saved me the trip. And in the book, she was like, then you wouldn't have briefed me. I wouldn't have gotten this briefing because you like didn't have the time. And then in the movie, she was like, well, then I wouldn't have gotten, you know, she kind of like did like I
wouldn't have gotten to enjoy your company or something like that. Yeah.
I was like, that's night and day. Like, what was the point for that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she does kind of like, she even says in the book, like, maybe I was a little bit too abrasive to him. And I think she goes through that a lot. And I even feel that sometimes where I'm like, was I like too abrasive? Like, am I being too strong-willed of a, you know, strong-willed female right now? Because sometimes I feel like, you know, like young females have to overcompensate for a lot that we already kind of out the gate get discounted on, you know. So I feel like we have to be extra strong and, you know, extra, you know, kind of show those leadership skills more than kind of our male counterparts who are our age, so we don't get called bossy or anything. So it's it was kind of sad to see the movie do that. And she was so much more shaky in the movie, and I just was like,
oh yeah,
like, why?
Yeah, whenever so in the book, just to like follow the timeline, she pretty quickly gets called by Crawford, which is her, I don't know what he is.
He's like
he's like, he
director.
solves cases. Yeah, he's like a very prolific figure at Quantico. Is that?
He's like an assistant manager.
Yeah. And so like pretty quickly he calls her in. I guess like they have like a rapport prior to the book starting, but and sends her to go talk to Hannibal. And so yeah, when she goes to talk to him, in the book it's a lot more just like slow, and like she's relatively confident in herself, but in the movie it's like, yeah, she's very jerky and shaky. And I just remember I just rewatched it, and it was the most dramatic thing whenever she's leaving and Miggs is there like jerking off, and then like she runs back and they're like up against like the cage, like looking at each other. I was like, what is happening right now?
What in the Breakfast at Tiffany's is going? Because you know there's like old 50s kiss where they would just smush faces together.
Yeah, that's exactly, like their chests were like up sort of towards each other.
It was almost sexual.
Like, yeah, it was very like, I was like, there's some sexual tension here.
Right. And I feel like the whole time in the book, like there was no sexual tension. Like he even kind of said to her like, and it was great because, and I'm glad they included it in the movie, because he said to her at one point, you know, did your stepdad try to fuck you or something like that? Is that why you ran away from home? And she said, that's the type of thing I would expect Miggs to say, and kind of like puts him in his place. And he's like, damn, she's like, great. Like, that's something that someone like that would say, like, is a really sick thing for someone to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was at that point. It was at some point where he said something kind of off brand for him.
No, that was exactly it. It was whenever she was, I think, went to stay with like her mom's cousin or something after her father's death. And it was like, I don't know if it was a stepdad or like an uncle or something. But yeah, he did say, like, did he try to fuck you? And she was like, that's, not what I expect to come out of your mouth. Yeah.
And when I read that, I was like, yes, bitch. Because normally, I mean, I feel like this could only be a fictional character, because I feel like in any other situation, if you were up against like a subhuman, like almost like a extraterrestrial being like Dr. Lecter, you would be like jelly, you know, like for someone, anyone, man or female, to kind of like stand strong and like put their foot down and be like, no, you're
stand up to them.
Yeah. It's a big thing. So this could only be a fictional story, I think, but it was nice to see. And it was nice to see, like, and to kind of remind myself, like, you know, this is a someone who I think is writing a little bit before their time.
Oh, 100%. Oh, look who it is.
Bepo.
Look who it is.
Is he gonna jump up? Oh my god,
look who it is. It's the Bepo. Say hello.
Very nice. I can smell his breath.
Thank you. It smells real bad.
I want to smell it.
Thank you. Say hello. Say hello, world.
Let's make that little noise you make. Yeah, so ahead of his time, and I think Clarice was able to kind of show herself as more than just like, with Dr. Lecter especially, was able to show herself as more than just kind of this one-sided, unfeeling kind of like FBI agent who's just like had enough of everyone's shit already. Like when she was talking about her horse Hannah, that she said, the fact that the movie left that out, I understand they would have to go into that backstory. They probably,
but still, they made it like a lamb that she ran away with, and I was
didn't even carry it the whole way.
Yeah,
and she rode Hannah out of there. Exactly. I think it's different for a girl, a preteen, to leave her house in the middle of the night, get on a horse, and go away. You know what I mean? Than like trying to corral the lambs and grab a lamb and try to run with it, and it can only go so far. So I don't know if maybe that was just like extra budget. They'd have to like go and find like, you know, horses to film and a barn to film, and who knows? But I feel like that was such an important kind of like relationship, and it showed a lot about her, that she kind of took one of the lame quote unquote horses, you know, into consideration and wanted to save it. And then she was able to take it to her foster care with her. You know, and the book ended, you know, with her, the picture of Hannah in her wallet. And like, I don't know, it just kind of like added a little bit of almost like a maternal kind of element to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, Clarice, other than that. So also something that I'm glad that the author included, but I was a little bit peeved that the movie didn't kind of play into more, was the fact that Crawford was kind of like discounting Clarice in front of other men, and would go back to her and be like,
I wrote that down.
Because I'm sorry, but that is so manipulative. Like, if you're gonna say like, oh, we can't discuss this in front of a woman, and then later on be like, hey, you know, I didn't mean that, right? You know, I was just talking shop with the guys. Like, it's
I wrote that because I really like, she said to him, so in the Buffalo Bill case, it's advancing and there's a new body, and so Crawford takes Clarice with him to that mortuary or morgue or whatever. And so I don't know who he's talking to, but he's like, this isn't something we should discuss in front of a woman. And like, they go into the office and she is kind of like, whatever. But then after all that, he like makes a point to pull her aside and be like, you know, that like, I was just saying that to him to get him by himself. And she said to him like she understood that. Yeah, but she's like, it matters what you say to them. Like, they respect you, like, you lead by example. And I was just like, fuck yeah. Because like, even if he like did have the best intentions in mind and just like wanted to get that guy by himself, like saying something like shitty like that, like, oh, we don't want to talk about this in front of a woman. Like, that's what people see and respect and emulate. Because
exactly. We even use the same
word.
We should have like a buzzer for that. Remember when we lived together? We did that a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was some bullshit. And you know what? And I was actually really bummed that they left the fingerprinting scene out.
Oh yeah.
Speaking on like when Buffalo Bill leaves a new body before he kidnaps Catherine. Or just as he's kidnapped Catherine, just kidnapped Catherine.
I think when they're
that night
right, doing that body, yeah, it's like right before he takes Catherine.
So she carefully kind of shows her like kind of expertise and gets to kind of like show off what she's learned in school essentially, you know, and fingerprint this body that they found and do a lot of IDing on it. And she is the one that finds the bug. I say the bug, but the moth. So she goes through all that stuff and she like fingerprints that corpse, and they didn't show any of that in the movie. It was helping out with pictures.
Yeah. And like, okay, can we talk about how in the movie they all had that shit under their nose? And I think Cameron was like half watching it with me, and she looked up at one point and she was like, for a second, I thought everybody just like had cocaine under their noses. And I was like, that'd be a great like spoof movie where like all of these, because just everybody in the room just had white dust under their nose.
And they're just like going into it.
Yeah.
Dalton was like, what is that? And I was like, oh, it's Vaseline, or not Vaseline, it's Vicks vapor rub that you put under your nose. Yeah, so because the menthol smells so strong. And he goes, I bet you would know that. He was like, you would know how to get away with murder. You listen to too many murder podcasts.
Menthol.
You know, if you're like on like Spotify desktop, you see what people are listening to. I'm pretty sure you can just see me listening to like murder podcasts all the time. Like, during my day, like it's a beautiful, sunny, bright day out, and I'm like
taking Izzy for a stroll.
I was like, I'm interested in the court proceedings. He's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not like
that's what I was gonna say to you yesterday, like when we were recording these original Bitches episodes, I had never listened to podcasts. Like I think I had listened to a couple, and That's Why We Drinks with you. But since then, like was like my binge listening to like all of the like That's Why We Drink. Like I just started getting into My Favorite Murder. But I was thinking about that because before then I like didn't even really understand like what all a podcast could be.
Yeah. So yeah. Generation Y is what got me into podcasting, which is another true crime episode with like two guys, but they do cover like more like kind of cases that you don't hear about very often, and some like more infamous cases. But I love Crime Junkie because you know they cover like kind of missing person cases that have kind of gotten lost, which I really like. And they work with like a bunch of innocence projects and stuff, which is really cool. So it's nice to see like podcasts actually making a difference in lawmaking and like actually making a difference in like cold cases that get solved or at least get picked back up.
Right.
So yeah, it's if I could be on a true crime podcast, I totally would. But I just feel like it's a lot of research.
Yeah,
and I got a lot of work to do.
So there's people we already have to read a whole book.
It's true, a whole book. And this one was almost 400 pages, and it was long. It was a good read. It was a quick read, but it was like sometimes I was like, all right, cool, darling, let's go back out there. But yeah. So back to the fingerprints and kind of the movie. I think it's just almost like a running theme now, and I'm glad like you've confirmed it, and I'm not just like doing like the crazy where I'm like, am I seeing things? Like I felt like the movie really portrayed her as kind of like this doe-eyed, like strong.
Yeah.
But like a strong light, like a diet strong, you know, like
a diet strong.
Like acceptable for a 1991 film, female strong. You know?
Right. Not too strong to put off the male viewers. Yeah.
Probably going to be their primary viewers. Although probably the biggest, I don't know if there's any research on this, but it's been kind of widely talked about, but like the biggest true crime like fan base is mostly women our age, because I think
I'm not surprised now. Like
yeah. I don't know if podcasting has changed that, but like it's definitely mostly a market for like women our age. So you know, I don't know. Another thing about Clarice that I think is definitely worth noting is I feel like it kind of goes back to the education thing, where Dr. Lecter told her she was pretty much one generation away from white trash. Like he told her like, your shoes are cheap, which
oh yeah,
some old man said to me, by the way, your shoes are cheap. I would go home and burn all of my shoes. I'd be like, oh my God, he called me out.
Didn't he say something about her bag too the first time they met? He ripped her up the first time they met.
I was like, oh my God, like you coming for the neck. Why the bag? You know, she spent that tiny little paycheck that she probably gets from her student loans, bought herself a bag, and you gonna come over here and rip on it. Like, Dr. Lecter, get the hell out.
You
like
people.
Exactly. I'm like, you can't even have staples in your cage. So
yeah.
I'll staple. Yeah, no, that's like I felt bad because it's like I understand kind of being like that generation that kind of wants to break away from the norm, kind of what's been the norm in your family, you know, your whole life, and always fitting it, like feeling like you don't fit in with people that were raised with more privilege or raised with more money, but you're in it because you're in a different life, you know, but you're not that person. Like you still feel at the end of the day like, oh, maybe I still am like not white trash, but you know, like sometimes, you know, if I feel like in living in New York, it's like almost like amplified like times 10 because people have a different kind of wealth here. So like, you know, you always want to keep up with like the latest trends and stuff, but I can't put myself in the poorhouse doing it, you know, because I got other things to pay for.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I would hang out with girls in Brooklyn and they would have all these nice things, and you know, we would get along on like a fundamental level, but like there was always just that feeling there, at least for me, and I'm sure it was like they probably felt too, but it was just like I couldn't have like super nice things like them, you know, or like I couldn't afford to like go shopping with them. And so it was just all these kind of things. So I understood that on like a different level. And that's why I was so impressed with the way that he kind of presented Clarice, because it was like relatable. And I'm like, I'm relating to a male author. Like this is interesting. This is nice.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, you can tell that like he's a very smart writer, just because you can achieve something like that.
Yeah. And like it was nice because Clarice would find herself judging other women and like judging even Senator Martin, you know, judging I can't remember her first name, but the Bimmel girl, one of the first Frederica Bimmel, for, you know, like trying to fit in. She has her ears pierced and she has glittery nail polish
glittery nail polish.
Yeah, like she'll never be that like girl, but she's trying so hard to be that girl, you know. And she could tell she would judge them, and she would like check herself and be like, wait, that's like I'm limiting my thinking by judging these people.
Yeah,
you know, because she would also judge herself so much too. And even like when she met up with Senator Martin, she even said like, you know, Senator Martin like even kind of had her preconceived notions, because Senator Martin, her whole family had like hella cash. So she was just like, she felt like she was kind of lower tier, I guess.
Yeah, that's just like an interesting like additional layer to the book that I didn't really think about while reading. But yeah, it's just a detail that like just is very subtle but very impactful to the overall story.
Yeah, and I think it kind of like lends to her determination and lends to kind of how she was able to connect with the other kind of like country folk, you know. She was able to get in there and kind of overstep Crawford, who was kind of a city, Quantico, Washington, D.C. guy, and was able to get down and dirty with the guys and be like, all right, boys, wrap it on up, or whatever Jodie Foster accent.
Yeah, God. Oh my God, I hate her accent in that movie.
We turned it on, he was like, is that her real accent?
Is she gonna speak like that the whole time?
Yeah, like, is that for real? And it's like, yeah, that's it.
You talk like Dr. Lecter.
She was like, oh, Dr. Lecter.
Dr. Lecter.
She was like, all right, boys, everybody. God,
but it was like deep and throaty kind of too.
Yeah, that's why I love Jodie Foster. She's an enigma. I think. Excuse me. But yeah, no, it was something that for me, I think it stuck out only because I could relate to that kind of like local like aspect of it in a way. Like it was apparent in some parts, but it was like kind of like a hidden, maybe another reason the lambs were kind of screaming at night, like she was kind of fake, maybe like imposter syndrome or something like that. So yeah, I think it adds a whole other layer to her that you don't get to see in the movie. Like you hear Dr. Lecter say something about her cheap shoes, and he says something to Senator Martin, like, oh, nice suit, nice jacket.
Yeah, that was such a weird throwaway line. Like,
love your jacket.
Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, and it was like, okay.
There were several moments where I was like, okay, like this is just a little bit too like over the top.
Yeah,
like his like random like one-liners.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, like the fact that like Anthony Hopkins could deliver the line, even if it was like not the best line, I was like, okay, that's he's
talent,
yeah,
nerve and talent. I can't wait to talk about him and his part, and like I think he did that movie justice so well. Like definitely next to Jodie Foster, I think he made that movie. But
the casting was really, so as far as Clarissa and Hannibal go, like that was pretty much how I pictured them in my head. Who I didn't picture even the slightest bit in my head was Crawford.
Really?
In my head,
how did you picture him?
Well, I was talking to Cameron about this too, my sister, and for the listeners, and we both pictured him like what's his name, Hodges from Criminal Minds.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Just like the darker hair, like a little bit older,
yeah.
And like just a little bit more like subdued. And then the Crawford in the movie, he just seemed like a silver fox that was like very like spry. Yeah. And I was like, that's just not how I imagined him.
I know. I think because they weren't bringing the Bella aspect into it, they're like, all right, let's sexualize Mr. Crawford.
Yeah, let's give the audience some eye candy.
Yeah, because they need something. And he was so sassy throughout that movie. Like, I feel like when you get that story, I mean, this is kind of switching gears to Mr. Crawford, or what is his first name? Detective. Special Agent Crawford. Special Agent Crawford. When you get that Bella backstory, you kind of understand why he's a little bit of a dick, You kind of like, he's losing his wife. His wife's terminally ill. He's watching her die. He's watching her breathe every night to make sure she doesn't die. He's like, like staying awake at night, watching her. Whenever she has a flutter in her breath, he starts to like kind of get up on. So yeah, that would make anyone in an extremely kind of like stressful environment anyway, working for the FBI, chasing people that, kill children or, young women.
Yeah.
Like, but without it, you're just kind of like, you a little bit.
He seemed like too, like he had too much of a lightness in his step.
Yeah.
Like in the book, when I would read and like imagine him, he seemed very in my head like bogged down and sort of just dragging day to day, like trying to balance his life. Like that's how I like imagined. Like I just like felt the weight of his character from the book, but like in the movie, you don't get that sort of side of him.
No, and you don't really get many sides of him at all. I mean, you don't really see him a lot during.
That's what I was super disappointed in too, because I thought his relationship with Clarice in the book was pretty special. And that's another thing. Cameron made a good point. Like he's almost like a father figure to her, which is, it sort of ties back to her father who died when she was a kid
and who was in law enforcement as well.
And like it sort of makes sense that she wants so badly to like prove to him and prove to like like the other superiors that like she's like a strong agent that's like valuable,
right, and capable.
So I thought,
absolutely, it sucked about Crawford, but I think that it like I said, when we first started the movie and it went straight into like her meeting Dr. Lecter, which pretty much is how it went in the book. She pretty much went straight away to meet him, but it just felt so rushed in the movie. And then before I knew it, we were like 20 minutes in, and then she started, and I'm like, this is a 2 hour long, how are they missing all this? But you would need like a 4 hour long movie to even kind of start, or a series, like you said, a short series. Netflix, a short series, Hulu, HBO Max.
Please give me a producer credit and payment. Thank you.
Payment, especially. Go get paid. Go get paid. So Yeah, you can't get into all that in 2 hours. You know, you barely got into the intricacies of just the movie in 2 hours, I feel like. So it was a real bummer. A real, as Clarice would say, that's a real disappointment.
And that sweet Southern accent.
I love her.
Yes.
I love her. And I think, you know, whenever I think about like kind of like a protagonist that I would look up to in a book, like she would definitely be up at the top. I mean, when I was little, I wanted to be a spy so bad. I was just telling Dawn about this.
Yeah.
I had like, I think I told you about this. Like I had spy books, I had spy kits, I had kits, I had fingerprint dusting stuff, like literally like wanted to just be like a crime scene investigator, like a forensics scientist. Obviously, I grew up and realized my brain did not go down those paths. My brain was like, you will draw and you will draw mediocre. Like, you will draw and you will talk to people, and that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. So it didn't ever cut out for me to, you know, become an FBI agent or something. But so I always look up to that, and I'm always like, oh, I wish I could have lived that life. But I guess
it sounds, I mean, I feel like I wouldn't be able to handle the stress and the constant fear of death.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I really love too about the ending of the book, I mean, I guess I want to say it because it kind of goes hand in hand with like fearing death, but like at the end of the book when Hannibal Lecter writes to Clarice, who he doesn't call on the phone, by the way. He writes.
Oh, yeah.
It's very Hannibal Lecter to write to somebody. But he says to her, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you as long as you don't come after me. You know, let's just call it fair and square. You'll never know that. And this is the last you'll hear from me. Yeah. And I bet she probably still was like looking over her shoulder all the time if she was a real person after that. Because that fear of like, you're going to put somebody away or, you know, might be involved with putting someone away that you know, might send the goons after you. So.
Yeah, I thought in that letter too, he says something like, the world is a much more interesting place with you in it. Yeah. And even then, yeah, I wouldn't trust that he wouldn't come after me. I would still just be like horrified that he was out there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
People, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I liked when he said the world's a lot more interesting place with you in it. I was like, oh, that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, like that's nice.
There's definitely, he has, like, he's a sociopath, but I have to believe that the like level of, like, he has a respect for Clarice that is nothing but respect. Because I feel like for the most part, he really doesn't respect or like tolerate any other person because he thinks he's just like the smartest person in the room at all times. But I think because Clarice was able to challenge him on some stuff, he has like that healthy dose of respect for her, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, I think that holds true with Barney too. His correctional officer, because he was saying too before he left, he's like, thank you, Barney, like you're the only one that's ever treated me with you know. Oh my god, look at that yawn. I feel it. Here, I'll let you talk. I'm gonna drink some water. I have to phlegm.
Yeah. Also, I didn't like how they portrayed Barney in the movie. Like, one, he wasn't even like his character wasn't even that important. Because like in the book, he's the one that's been dealing with Lecter, and he's the one person that's never forgotten who he's been dealing with. And that's why like Lecter's never acted up around him. But and because of that, like he's aware of the dangers of like being around Hannibal. But then in the movie, like the first time you meet him, he's like talking to Clarice. She's about to go in there and he's like, I'll be watching the whole time. You're gonna do great. Like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why are you hyping? Like, I feel like in the book, it wouldn't have been that, unless I forget that happened in the book. But like, he just seemed like more of like this guy kills and eats people. Like you need to be afraid of him and like on your toes. But in the movie, it was just like a weird, like sort of jolly, like security guy.
John Mulaney Batman nurse character.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You're gonna do great.
Yeah, you got this. Yeah, after she comes back after like the traumatic experience with like Miggs and Hannibal, you look different.
By the way, I'm just gonna say that whole traumatic experience with Miggs when she literally walks away with jizz on her gorgeous coat that I know can only be dry cleaned. She
Dry clean
walked out
only.
into the daylight, want no jizz on her coat. I was looking for it. I don't know why I was looking for it, but I was looking for it.
Well, that was such a like shocking thing that happened in the book.
Yeah. And so I was looking, I was like, her hair is all fine. You know, her hair would be all matted up if that was real life. I mean, I guess it's the 80s or the early 90s. So they couldn't really show too much gruesomeness. That's why I wish they would redo it now or like have, a director that
isn't afraid of that.
Yeah. Exactly. Isn't afraid of kind of showing what really would have happened in that situation.
That'd be yeah.
Let's talk about Miggs. I'm just kidding. But it's honestly like I totally agree about the Barney thing. He's kind of taken as like if they would have just taken his advice or taken him along in the beginning when Lecter got sent to Tennessee, none of that would have happened because Barney even said to Dr. Chilton and the two guards, he was like, do you know what you're dealing with? Like and Dr. Chilton was like, oh, the two guards got it. Like, leave them alone. They're seasoned,
Can we talk
officers.
After this? Can we talk about Dr. Chilton?
Yeah, because he is a mess. And, I wasn't really actually sure. I don't know if maybe I skimmed over this too quickly towards the end. I was starting to get kind of hungry. So I wasn't really paying attention. But in the book, does Dr. Lecter follow Dr. Chilton like he did in the movie?
In the book, he writes a letter to Chilton, like before, like the letter to Clarice. And he says something like, along the lines of like, you should be expecting a visit from me, which is horrifying.
Oh my God, I would just go ahead and kill myself. I'd be like,
oh my God, yeah.
Much better than whatever Dr. Lecter's gonna do to you.
Yeah, but I don't remember him like actually like following him or anything. Because in the book, he just like is concentrating on like getting out of there.
Right. He hadn't even gone to Bermuda or wherever he had gone in the movie.
Yeah.
They showed him in like some remote island with his hair grown out, like, following Dr. Chilton. So no. Yeah, Dr. Chilton is a whole asshole. But you know what I loved about the book is when Thomas Harris says, I had to look at his name for a second, when he says, like, Chilton said something to Starling and Starling looked at him and he said in that moment Starling knew everything. Like in his
he bought a ticket to something on ice. Like, so like that like that's what he's gonna do by himself. And when
he was like she saw like the lonely one person TV dinners, like the
it kind of made me like feel bad for him.
I know for a second you're like,
that's why he's so miserable and horrible.
Exactly. But I loved when she said that because there are times I think it's more of like a movie thing or like things you like fantasize about, like you see someone and you're like, I can see right through you, Like there are people that I feel like at least in my personal life that you see and you're like, I literally can see you, like you portray yourself as this completely different person, but like it's not that like transparent, like it's much more transparent than you think it is, and like being able to kind of look at somebody and be like, but then like obviously you're assuming and stuff, but I loved that part because it was like, hell yeah, like Starling's smart, she's intuitive, she's obviously like or about to be one, so I mean she's gonna be able to read people. Dr. Chilton was just kind of underestimating it.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too. There were several moments throughout the book where she would have some sort of insight where it almost made me feel like she was very similar to Lecter in that way. Like she could take observations and like really just like dive into them. Like with the one ticket thing, like her brain just worked in the way where she was like, oh, I immediately know like what your life is like,
right?
Whereas like other people might just like pass over that detail.
Exactly. Like if someone's like, oh, I got a ticket on ice, I had a ticket on ice, I might be like, okay, sorry. Like I wouldn't even think like, oh, a ticket,
one singular ticket, you must be miserable.
I can see everything in your life. And I love like characters like that, and I'm so glad you said that because I hadn't really thought about Clarice being on the same level of like intuitiveness as Dr. Lecter, but I think it's so interesting, those characters. Like, I think about like Harry Potter, you know, where it's like the bad person, the antagonist, could be such a good person if they didn't have like that bad apple seed in them. Like Voldemort could have been the best like wizard of all time, but he had that bad apple seed in him. Lecter could have been he could have been the director of the FBI. He was so smart and so into with people, but he had that bad seed in him. Because then it becomes, and then I wanted to talk to you eventually about this, because then it becomes that question of like, is Lecter like, was he born like that? Like, did something make him like that? Like, and the question in general for real life, you know, murderers and serial killers, like, were they born that way? Were they made like it?
Was there a traumatic event that happened?
Right? Like, was there an actual physical event that happened where you know, they actually, you know, maybe hit their brain when they were younger and it stopped growing, you know, and they weren't able to kind of develop emotions? Like, there's definitely, you know, science behind that. Like Aaron Hernandez, that football star that ended up killing like 3 different people. And then himself. Like they had been able to prove with a CAT scan after death that his brain had received so much damage in the kind of sensitivity part of our brain, like the part that has inhibitions, maybe not sensitivity, but inhibitions. That part of his brain was completely damaged from football. And it's like a pretty and it's like,
yeah, I mean, that makes sense, like brain damage,
right? And people were saying, well, then technically, is this his fault? Like, he's been a completely normal person his whole life. He gets brain damage and starts killing people, and then he kills himself in prison. It's like, was it his fault then? I mean, yeah, it was, but if he has brain damage to where he doesn't have any inhibitions, then technically it kind of wasn't. You know?
Yeah, that's sticky.
It's a big question. I think it's a question for the end. But yeah, Dr. Chilton. So I loved that letter that Dr. Lecter wrote to him, or wrote to about him, with the Chilton, kind of with the different what is that? Okay, it's been a long time since honors chemistry, guys. It's been like 10 years. What is it called? What is it called? Atomic weight?
I don't remember.
And it's like, if it's like chloride, it's like CH and then like a little 2 at the bottom.
Like the elements, the period.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen. Yeah, did you hear a snore? Yeah. I'm in school. I went to school for film. I'm in school for communication.
You know, my parents went to like a parent teacher conference the last time I had chemistry, and he was like, Haley talks a lot. Haley talks too much. And they were like, yeah, we know. My parents got to the point where they would just walk in and be like, Haley talks too much, but she's a good student. And they'd be like, yeah. And it's like, yeah.
Great. Good parent teacher.
Same story all years of any height. Well, I guess whenever we had parent teacher conferences. But when he writes the letter about Chilton, and he has those whatever the fuck we just said that led us into
the elements.
Yes.
I don't even know if that's the correct word that we're trying to think of, but I know what you're saying. Yeah,
it sounds right. People will eye roll at this section and be like, fucking idiots, but whatever. And the elements that he put in Chilton's name add up to the chemical that turns the shit color. And wait, you are frozen right now.
Oh, bilirubin.
Oh, there you
are. Bilirubin.
How did you know that?
Because that's what he says that Buffalo Bill's name is in the book. He says that his name is Billy Rubin, and I was like, did nobody pick up on that?
All right. I didn't pick up on that, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this meeting right now. This Zoom session.
In call for all.
I did not get that.
Yeah, so I don't really know.
I got you on my team, girl.
Well, so I only recently learned that I was either born with either too much or too little Billy.
Wait. You're frozen. Hold on. I want to get this story because I feel like it's really interesting. Yeah. Wait. So you said that you just found out you were born with a little bit too much or too little Billy Rubin?
Yeah. And so for whichever one it was, I was born a little bit like, I don't know if jaundiced is the right word, but when I was born, I was like a little bit yellow.
Okay.
Which is like not an uncommon thing. Right. But I recently, my dad was like, yeah, you either had too much or too little Billy Rubin. And I had never heard that word before. And I was like, the fuck is Billy Rubin? And then it was all in this book, and I was like, oh, Billy Rubin. I think it's something
I missed that,
Dominic.
girl. That thing went over my head like I don't even know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how did I not get that?
But
Wow.
then that's another weird thing that they changed in the movie. They didn't use the name Billy Rubin. They used some other random name, and I was like, why?
Paul something. Oh,
Yeah.
I was like,
why
what?
change that one like little detail?
Yeah, and you know, speaking of that too, the movie didn't hit on Raspel really at all, or Klaus almost at all.
No. Yeah.
They were just
Which
like in
was like a
passing.
huge, yeah, and that was like the huge plot twist, is that Lecter was the doctor of the guy that he killed,
Right.
who had an affiliation with this other like serial killer. Like that relationship was really surprising to me. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
That he knew exactly who Buffalo Bill was the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they really didn't talk about that at all. And I feel like Raspel had a big, even though he was dead and gone by the time this story started, like he still had like a huge part in it in a way, because he kind of connected the two, and they didn't really go into that at all, and like odd. But and that also reminds me, I feel like with the Buffalo Bill stuff and kind of using the moth, the death moth obviously, but like the actual moth and kind of the process of like how a moth becomes a moth, you know, and going through that transformation. Obviously he saw himself in it, like we'll get that, but like at the same time I feel like there's something more there about the moths that I'm just not like getting. Like I feel like there's a reason that, outside of just kind of like a really readily apparent kind of seeing it as like a transformation, and you know, Bill was wanting to go through a transformation, like I feel like there's something else there. Like I feel like the butterfly, like, or not butterfly, but like the moth, like said something about like kind of the delicateness of like a person like that. I don't know, like I know there's something else there, and I really been meaning to rack my brain about it, but every time I do it I just like shut down. I'm like, oh, I have to work, like oh, I have to feel Izzy out or something. I don't really get into it too much, but it was such a significant, like down the throat, like
I know. I don't know if they ever explained it and I just missed it, but like I was wondering what the significance of putting it in the throat was.
It could be anything. I feel like it could be Adam's apple related. It could be, you know, not being able to find your true voice related.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I have no clue. But I love that he kind of featured something that was a little bit more vague. And it was interesting too to kind of see how, and I had wished that they included this in the movie as well, to see Buffalo Bill's kind of like victim transformation. Like he went from like killing his grandparents to killing like, you know, a lover or like an acquaintance, and then killing you know, the older woman that whose house he took when they were in Florida. Like to then going on to like a profile, like a serial killer profile, because straight out the gate, usually with serial killers, they like establish a profile pretty early. They don't like experiment around and then establish a profile. Like it's usually right out the gate, you know? So it's like, it was weird. It's like, has he always struggled with this identity thing? Like, did maybe he see himself in the moth and like find a way? So I don't know. Like, I feel like there's a lot of different avenues you can take with that. And the book the movie didn't really, I mean, there's no way to see inside people's thoughts. So it's like, you know, without there being like a cheesy kind of over voiceover. So it was hard. I feel like there's still something there about the moth that maybe I'm looking too far into it, but
no, I definitely think that there is a lot of symbolism there, and that would be a cool thing to look into. Like I'm wishing that I had like Patreon episode.
Yeah. We'll send everyone moths.
I don't know, this may be reading too much into it, but like as far as the transformation and stuff, like it's interesting that they used a moth and instead of like a butterfly. Because I remember Hannibal asked Clarice, like, did you find like a butterfly in his or in her throat? And I don't know. I feel like there's such a like there. I feel there's more of a negative connotation towards moths than there are butterflies, even though they're like essentially the same thing. One is just the night version.
Misunderstood, right? I guess, right? Like,
yeah. So I thought that was like maybe that was
point.
a little bit of like a symbolism thing. Like
absolutely
the same thing. It's like a beautiful transformation, but one's like a little bit less accepted.
Yeah, that's a great point. Oh my God. I think you're totally right. Like it's like a lesser accepted kind of like butterfly, kind of the night, you know, like bad things kind of generally happen at night. Yeah, I love that. I think there's a lot there. And Buffalo Bill is such a intricate person that I guess a moth is a good one to even get into.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we have Buffalo Bill. We've definitely talked about Clarice. Oh, one thing I do want to say that obviously you can't do with a movie that you do with a book is at the very end, I was surprised when I was rereading. I finished the book today after I watched the movie last night. I was surprised when I was rereading that Buffalo Bill, for a second, when he was about to kill Clarice, he was thinking about taking her hair. He was like, oh, like she's tiny. Like I'll never be able to use her body. But when I saw her in the kitchen, she had a great head of hair. I'll wear her hair. And I thought, oh my God, like for him to start thinking about using her as a victim when he's about to get caught by an FBI agent shows you how far removed from reality he is. Like, you're going to get caught anyway. Like there are officers that know she's there, you know, or will know that she's there. And you don't get that in the movie, like at all. It just looks like he's just trying to escape her or like, you know, kill her so he's not caught. It's not ever like, oh, I love her hair. And at the very end, before he dies, he says to her, how does it feel to be so beautiful? And it's like everything he's been fighting for in his life, like acceptance and beauty, or like socially accepted beauty, like, you know, and kind of knowing who he is as a person and not really feeling like secure in his own skin. Like the fact that's the last thing he says, it's like it was an obsession from the start.
Yeah, it's almost just like it almost makes him like sympathetic again, as much as like he can be, because like, you know, he's just like this character that's like in turmoil just about his own existence. And like his dying thought is like
can it be beautiful like Clarice?
Yeah, this woman, this FBI agent that just shot me.
You know what? I bet when the casting director or casting agent, whatever, was reading this, they were like, "Ooh, good head of hair. We gonna call Jodie Foster because she has an amazing head of hair." I was even thinking it last night when I was watching the movie. I was like, "Damn."
Yeah, hold on. Let me make sure I'm remembering her. Does she have like a really good widow's peak?
I don't remember.
Or am I misremembering?
No, all I remember was the back of her hair being really like voluminous, and I remember thinking, I wonder if she had a blowout. I mean, she had to have a blowout when the movie started. I was like,
nah, she doesn't really have a widow's peak. She definitely got some sort of blowout.
Must have, because that's a power haircut.
Face shape too.
She does. She reminds me of my friend Callie. She's very like plain, like not plain. When I say plain without my hands, it sounds like I'm saying like plain Jane, but like planes on her face. Like she's a square plane on the nose.
PLANE.
Yeah, let's clarify, Callie. You ain't playing, girl. You ain't playing about you, but like a plane, like very like angular shape.
Yeah, angular. Yeah.
So yeah, super unique beauty, I think. But yeah, so it was just sad. And I remember thinking when I was reading, when he was like considering like taking her hair off her head, I was like, oh my God, that's like an element to the story that just shows you like I said, how removed he is from everything that's going on around him and how like focused he is really just on getting the suit done. He thinks he's going to get out of it and he's going to get away with it. You know, like the FBI would pull up at his doorstep by the time he even got her hair off. I feel like, you know, there would be no like wearing it, you know, whatever. I'm like I'm like, plan your day right, guy. Like start earlier. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, really. And I mean, I feel like whenever we do these talks, it's like always like, oh, I wish the movie could do this. I mean, like I said, without reading the book, the movie is still fantastic. Like, so excellent.
See, I wish I had seen the movie before I read the book, because like this is how I felt with American Psycho. Like that was one of my all-time favorite movies, and then I read the book, and the movie's still fantastic, but just knowing what it could have been, like I don't enjoy it as much because I'm just thinking about all the pieces that are missing. So
yeah, it just seems rushed.
Yeah. And so like when I watched Silence of the Lambs for the first time after I had read the book, I was like, this is all going by very quickly. But yeah, I mean, it is good. Like,
I just burped. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
How dare you? That was really rude.
Okay, so my entire life, I literally have never been able to burp. I'm not kidding. You know this.
Wait, yeah, that's true.
We lived together for how long? Like 2 years. Like I cannot burp. And just in the past like month, I have been burping like never before in my life. You should see Alex's face.
Congratulations.
Excited for me. Thank you. Alex is excited for me. Yeah.
Usually it's just baby dinosaur.
No more baby dinosaurs almost at all anymore. It just comes out. I'm like, I don't know if maybe I coughed wrong or like bent over weird one day.
It
And,
like opened a passageway.
In my body, right? Like I was like, this. I'm not sure if I should be alarmed. But
wow, New York is changing you.
I know. I'm becoming a friggin' pig. I spit off my balcony the other night because I was just like, what am I doing? Like, my mom would be so disappointed. But yeah, I keep burping, and like I was so afraid in our Q&A the other day, I would literally be talking and just like, because I'm like a baby that just got out of the womb. You know, you have to learn how to walk. So I don't know how to control my burps yet. It's just like
it just comes out.
It's like spazzy. But I'll learn eventually. Eventually I'll get there and I'll be burping my ABCs.
Well, at least we're in a pandemic right now and you're in quarantine, so you have time to practice.
It's true. I have all the time in the world.
To practice controlling your burps.
Yeah, so sorry about that. Just side note.
That's okay. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your excitement because it's like, you know, my story.
Yeah, I've been there from baby dinosaur days.
That's right, baby. When I was just a baby dinosaur. Now I'm full grown T-Rex when I burp. I can't help it. It just comes out of me and I'm just like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. You surprise yourself.
I know. Oh my God. And of course I'm like right on the microphone when I did it too. Good. Cool. So then do you want to just wrap up and talk about cannibalism?
Yeah.
Did we miss anything? I mean,
I don't think so.
Other than like, I mean, Clarice's backstory, I think is still important, but I think it's like one of those things you kind of just read it yourself. But you know what I mean? Like read it. Like,
well, everybody listening should have already read the book and watched the movie. So
I'm gonna start putting out homework. I'll be the one to raise my hand. Homework's due tonight, Mrs. Jefferson. Homework's due tonight.
We're gonna assign like prompts, writing prompts.
How do you feel about Clarice's shoes?
Let's talk about the one and only.
The Hannibal. Yeah, the Dr. Lecter. Where is he even from? Did we establish that?
I don't know. I was just thinking that too. I have no idea.
He is from...
I'm sure it's in the books leading up to Silence of the Lambs.
You're probably right about that. That's, you know, I bet same people had the same question when this book came out, and Thomas Harris probably like, read the fucking books before and you would know. Read the prequel, read the sequel. So we'll do that actually. I think I want to definitely read the prequel to this and the sequel. Sequels. But Hannibal Lecter, so Hannibal Lecter's like this, I said it earlier, but like this almost like extraterrestrial.
That's
kind
a good
of
way to describe him.
He's like otherworldly, and I think they even say in the book like he's not a monster, he's much more than that. You know, he's like subhuman.
Yeah, that's another good way to describe him.
So one thing I will just say right out the gate, just coming with the criticisms, just complaining. Hannibal's eyes in the movie were gorgeous blue. Okay? Gorgeous blue. Gorgeous. Freaky fucking blue. Yeah. My color blue. When you look at me in the sun, I'm like...
Yeah, they had like a light shining right. Like,
gorgeous,
it was like illuminating them. Yeah.
Beautiful blue. Creepy as fuck. However, they were not maroon like they described in the book. And I feel like that whole maroon eye is like the whole kind of like leaning back to like a nocturnal creature and like bloodthirsty. Yeah. Exactly. So like, why?
They were like, we have Anthony Hopkins. He's got those baby blues. Let's milk them.
He was like, you know what, y'all, I get eye infections, and I'm not one to put in eye contacts. And they were like, you know what, it's fine. You guys are beautiful anyway.
Yeah, you're Sir Anthony Hopkins. Isn't he a sir?
I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. So maybe he is British in real life. I feel like he does have an accent. You know, he just celebrated, actually, it was very timely. The other day, he just celebrated like 30 or 35 years of sobriety.
Wow.
Right after Christmas. I was like, wow. I bet he had a really rough Christmas one year and was like, all right, I'm getting sober. Like anyone that gets sober after Christmas, that was a long Christmas.
Yeah, like a Christmas or New Year. Yeah. Like, that like right after the holiday, like
it's
circuit.
It's time. It's gotten to the point now where I don't drink at all anymore. So I'll have 2 glasses of champagne at lunch and I'm shit faced. Time for a nap.
I don't drink that much either anymore, and
that's because we had our fill of vodka. Like we were IV vodka, so we weren't drinking that much, but we went out a lot. I think because it was like a social thing.
I have at least like 4 vodka sodas anytime we went out. At least, and Nick was making those strong.
He used to put the elbow into it.
Like, yeah, it was like mostly vodka, like splash of soda there at the end.
Aren't you supposed to count to like 5 when you do the vodka? Like I think Nick is counting to 20 seconds. Like he's just,
we got that VIP treatment.
Girl, that friends and family, honey.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we might as well, because girl, we spent some money there. We spent what little money we did have on rent and drank. But
I'll never forget.
It was such a fun time. It was one of those times that you just like will never forget.
Yeah. I drove past Opera Room the other week when I was in town. Like I just drove past it on Gray Street, and it was weird seeing it. Yeah, like thinking about like all the nights we like stumbled out of there and like went down to islands and
crying,
just
like laughing,
all of the emotions.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was a good time. Yeah, I reflect on that often, and just like, you know, Sandy, I think for being in the pandemic, she's doing a really amazing job. She's already working with such a small space, you know, and being a bar, she's just really.
I haven't kept up with. I'm like, are they open? Are they functioning right now?
Yeah, they're open in the back, and they're not allowed to be open indoors, but they can be open out in the back. And I think I think 3 people max can be out back.
Oh, that sounds like a perfect night at Opera Room. Just 3 people.
Exactly. It sounds like the end of the night at Opera Room or the beginning of the night when you're like, oh, come back in an hour. It'll be popping.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. I'm glad they're doing well.
Yeah. So
as well as they can.
I'm like, so Anthony Hopkins drunk. Oh yeah, so he's sober. So congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations, Anthony Hopkins.
Us too, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that I don't know what the casting process looked like to get him. Like if he was one of those kind of like Christian Bale actors that was like in it from the get-go. Was he their second choice? You know, like I'm interested to know that, but I couldn't seem to find anything. And I would hope that he would be their first choice because he was the perfect choice.
I thought so too. Yeah.
No one else could have played it like that.
Yeah.
At the very most, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Ooh, that'd be.
He could play anything for me. He could play Benjamin Button, and I'm still like, I buy it.
Yeah.
But Brad Pitt did that, didn't he?
Brad Pitt did Benjamin Button. Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm trying to think. There's another actor that I feel like could also play Hannibal, and I want to
probably the guy from You. I could see that, like older.
Oh, if he was older. Oh, Michael Keaton. I feel like.
Show me his face. You look like a YouTuber. You're like, let me zoom in or put it too close to the camera. Oh, yep.
Which I guess he kind of has like the same sort of. He looks like a younger.
Could you imagine someone coming to you as an actor being like, hi, you look like a serial killer?
Do you want to play Hannibal Lecter?
The most disgusting like serial killer in fiction? Yeah, I know you do. I would actually be like, yeah, I'll take it. So I'm sure they paid cash for Sir Anthony Hopkins. I actually haven't seen a lot of other movies that he's been in, to be honest.
I haven't either. I just know that he's like a very famous and like respected actor.
Yeah. I think he's just one of those like almost like a Jim Carrey character where it's like there's so many different sides to him that he's not just an actor, he's like truly an artist.
You can't put him in a box. Yeah.
No, no. Jim Carrey, I love him. Jim Carrey could probably play that role too. Although
I could see that.
Just Anthony Hopkins, and it's crazy to watch that movie back, because I remember watching it when I was younger thinking, oh, he's like an old guy, and then now seeing how old he is, he's like in his late 70s now, I think, or early 80s, and I'm like, holy shit, he is old.
How old was God? Oh yeah, okay, I guess he would have been like probably in his 50s or so.
Yeah, I think so, in his 50s.
Yeah.
But yeah, they honestly could not have picked a better character. I wish for the maroon eyes, but I think the first time you see Anthony Hopkins and he comes on screen and he's just got those like I said, like those slate blue, like soulless eyes, you're just like, whoa. Like,
yeah. Whoa. He has a very disturbing presence about him on screen.
Yeah.
It's just uncomfortable to look at him. Like he doesn't really like move, or like you don't see him like breathe or like do any like normal human function really. He just sort of like stands and is very still.
Yeah, you can definitely tell he read the book well and understood it well before he started playing that role, because he definitely got it down where, you know, like in the book and in the movie, Hannibal Lecter, whenever he's like murdering a person, his heart rate doesn't go above 85.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah.
Mine at a sitting heartbeat is like 120 beats, and I'm like a fucking hummingbird with Red Bull, and I'm like, how can you even like be that calm?
Yeah, just like the thought of me having to like speak, like if I'm in class and I have like, if like even on Zoom, if I know I'm about to have to unmute myself and say something, like my heart rate starts like going up.
Yeah, whenever I get off Zoom calls, especially if they're like serious Zoom calls or like a big meeting, I will literally get off the Zoom and I'm just fucking drenched in sweat, and I'm just like, like open the door.
The thought of like killing somebody
and not like really struggling that much. Yeah, like wow.
That makes that, it's nice to know that like I don't identify with that whatsoever.
That is definitely a characteristic that we want to avoid. Keeping that heart rate down is great if you have high blood pressure, but if you're murdering people, you might want to be able to feel that adrenaline, so you're doing something wrong.
Have a little
but if you're a sociopath, of course you don't, because you don't feel emotion, empathy, not emotion, but empathy.
Yeah.
So Dr. Lecter, it's like, where do you even like begin when you talk about him? You know, it's because I feel bad I haven't read the prequel now, because I wish I would have had a little bit more background on him.
Well, I don't even know, after I said that, I don't even know if he's like mentioned until Silence of the Lambs. Like I feel like he might be like referenced, but I don't think he's like a big character until this book.
That would make sense.
But I could be completely incorrect.
Yeah.
But I feel like I remember reading that.
I feel like his character in the movie was it's like, if you're gonna spend 30 more minutes on the movie and just push for 2.5 hours, like they should have spent that 30 minutes on Dr. Lecter and Clarice's conversations, because those conversations were so key. Like Dr. Lecter is the one that told her he's making a suit out of fat girls. You know?
He said that he wanted to wear a vest with tits or
That's
something.
right. Yeah, a vest with tits. And so he was like, do you know why he wants her? Why? Oh, because she wants a vest with her tits on it.
Yeah.
And I like, I was
visual.
like, oh.
Yeah.
It's like after American Psycho, I read stuff and I'm like, oh, baby language. Because American Psycho was friggin' intense. Whenever I read it on the train, I feel like people are like, you good?
Are you good? Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I love this book. But he is the one that tells her about the suit. He's the one that tells her about
going to the hospital and looking for the rejects.
Exactly. Him not being a transsexual is what they call it, a transgender person, but he thinks he is, but he's not really. He just hates himself. Like, he gives her all those pieces of information, but in the movie, she's the one that all of a sudden was like, oh, he's making the fat suit. Like, you know, it was like, y'all are going to give her like this shining moment. It was just kind of like downplaying. And I feel like she really worked like a dog to kind of get that relationship up and going with him, you know. really intricate, or not intricate, but like really sensitive and kind of like raw pieces of her life in exchange for that information that he knows about her forever. You know,
and she knows how detrimental that can be, just like him having any sort of like personal information about her.
Exactly. And so I feel like they really downplay those conversations, because if I remember correctly in the movie, I didn't write it down, but they probably had a total of like 2 or 3 conversations.
I just Googled, I think it was, it says Sir Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster only share 4 scenes throughout the course of this movie. Which, yeah, and I think that is in the book as well. They only have like 4 conversations, because the last conversation that they have happens like not too close to the end, because you have that whole dramatic saga of him escaping, and then you have the whole dramatic saga of them figuring out who Buffalo Bill is, and like her happening upon his house. So yeah, it's like their interactions are very brief, but like so important and impactful that like when you think of Silence of the Lambs, you think of them too, even though like that's such a not minor part, but like in the grand scheme of the book, like it only takes up a handful of pages.
Yeah, and like that's why I wish like someone like Quentin Tarantino, who is okay with having 20 minutes of dialogue talking about one single thing, would be good for something like this, or at least some consultation on, because I feel like they really miss out on a lot of that conversational kind of aspect of their relationship.
Yeah, like the scene in Inglourious Bastards where Christoph Waltz is eating the pastry, and it goes like that is something like they could
such build up.
Yeah, and like put in like a conversation that like Hannibal and Clarice have.
Exactly.
Just that intensity, and like just like the ability to like slow it down and like allow that scene to play out and take as long as it needs to. That would be cool.
And I felt like in their conversations in the book, he was a lot more courteous, and I feel like in the movie he was kind of he was obviously still courteous because it's like obviously his brand, but it felt like rushed and like and I think I've said that before, but like a little bit almost like irritated with her more than he was in the book. Like I feel like in the book he was giving her a pretty equal playing ground for conversation most times. Like in the book he would like, you know, shove things out of his drawer really fast, and they don't really I mean in the movie he would, and he kind of had a little bit more of like a violent, energetic presence to him in the movie than the book.
Yeah, I feel like in the book he was almost like he almost admired her a little bit more, in her ability to like hold a conversation with him and like be able to follow it. And in the movie it did feel like it was more of just like he was annoyed that he even was having to deal with her.
Yeah. And something that I really found interesting about Dr. Lecter is like when you think about him, like you think about this almost, I hate to say flawless because it's not true. Like he's flawed because he kills people, but almost like a untouchable, like super stoic to the point of like, there's just like, he's cut off from the rest of humanity. But the one thing he doesn't like to do is be like undermined or be and like being bored is undermining him in a way. Like when Special Agent Crawford first sent Starling down there, he was like undermined because he was like, oh, he sent a student to me to give me a survey. Like he was like pissed about that. And it was like that was his one kind of Achilles heel, was like his like rejection of his own humanity in a way, because he was like didn't want to ever get bored. Like he got offended when he got bored. You know, he got offended at like.
Would you say that's almost like a narcissistic quality? Like
absolutely. Yeah
absolutely. Just feeling like his time is being wasted by like people that are beneath him.
Exactly and not worthwhile. So I think that like they didn't really show that too much, obviously, in the movie. See, there are things that, you know, we can sit here and say like, oh, well, in the movie they didn't show this, in the book they showed this, in the movie they didn't show this. But like in the movie, they could have definitely found a way to like incorporate, you know, kind of that one human quality that he does have. Like I said, that one Achilles heel, that one Achilles heel that he has, you know, that makes him like could potentially break him, and he seems like such an unbreakable person.
Right.
And so and that would take but a couple of minutes, or at least a couple of like weird interjections in there to kind of like at least hint at for the crowd that's paying attention more.
Right.
So oh, Bapo.
He's like sleeping like on my legs, and I'm at a point now where I can only like bend my legs for so long before my knees start to hurt, so I keep readjusting and having to shift him.
Sweet boy, I love that. I can't wait to pet him soon. I can just feel his warm little fat body and just little chunky boy. I love all his skin. Ever since he was a puppy, he just has so much skin. He does
have a lot of skin.
So cute. I sound like Buffalo Bill. I'm like, I love his skin. I love his fluffy white skin. But yeah, I just feel like there's like little things like that with like Hannibal Lecter and like even Clarice and kind of their conversations. Like there are little things you can put into the movie that don't take that long. You know, you shouldn't have changed maybe so drastically. I don't know, because I feel like the fact that Hannibal gave her that huge clue, like, do this, it's right in front of you. Don't these places seem desperately random? Like he keeps giving her clues to, obviously wants to help her.
Yeah, like he likes being the one with the information. Like it's definitely like a power trip too.
Like you said. Yeah, exactly. But he is helping her for his own kind of like narcissistic, like you said, aspects to himself, like so he can be the center of attention and he can kind of get privileges that he wouldn't normally get. And
he's the one that like they're coming to. He's gonna like save the day,
right? And I feel like movies do that, like the quick cheap things, because it needs to be quick and like, you know, get to the point. And for people that maybe are kind of just passively watching, or maybe just don't like to look that too far into things, they will miss things if it's not so direct and cheap and kind of like in your face. So maybe that's why. And I mean, like, I know like Clarice, like they showed her as more of a kind of wilting violet character because that probably plays a little bit better for TV. You know, that she's like, oh, I'm scared, you know, and like stands up to the big strong man at the end and is the one that, you know, cracks the code. But it's not the reality. And I feel like it kind of changed the story a bit.
The movie almost made her more of an underdog, whereas like the book, she definitely, I wouldn't say is like an underdog.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know how I would describe her, but
it's not so like, I feel like she just kind of like shows up and does her job in the book pretty much, and like shows up and does it well and competently. Like in the movie, it's more of like, please give me a shot. I know I can. It's like, gentlemen, please quiet down, you know. Oh, Mick's jizzed on me.
Yeah.
Although let me tell you, if somebody kersplatted on me, I would be in the cell next to him because I would have wrung his neck out.
Oh, just like put your hands through the bars. It's probably what he would have wanted.
And the fact that Dr. Lecter can make someone swallow their tongue.
How does that even physically?
I was having that conversation. I was literally putting on my eyeliner, talking to Dalton this morning. I'm like, how can you swallow your tongue? Because you know, have you ever seen $1 Million Baby? Spoiler alert. Oh, okay, spoiler alert. She swallows her tongue at the end and kills herself.
Oh my god.
Because she's like paralyzed from like the waist down to. I was telling Dalton about it this morning. It's like a beautiful, beautiful movie. You should watch it when you get a chance.
I have heard. I did the scene where like somebody's dying in it. Yeah. I had to do that for an acting class, and I had to like pretend like I was on a hospital bed, and it was like the most uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, well, she ends up like fighting this big fight, and she ends up getting paralyzed from like the neck down.
Doesn't she like hit her neck on a chair?
Yeah,
because I've seen like the It's Always Sunny thing where
yeah, the poor baby, and she smacks her shit, and she gets paralyzed. So then she swallows her tongue, or either maybe she bites her tongue. maybe it was swallow. She does something to her tongue, but it's like, how can you swallow your own tongue? Because we were talking about it. We were like, wouldn't your, like, just your body, I was literally trying it when I was like, and you end up yawning, putting on my eyeliner. I'm like, look at ugly as fuck. Oh God, now I'm yawning. Yeah, I'm like, how do you even do that? But the fact that that's what makes him almost like subhuman, and like the fact that he has like 6 fingers on one hand, he can whisper someone to commit suicide, like, and just by whispering to them. Like, what was he saying?
I know.
He was talking to Migs the way he talked to Clarice. Then I'd probably kill myself too.
Yeah.
Ugly shoes. I don't know. Like, cheap bag. Okay.
Yeah.
But so Hannibal Lecter, I think, is just this. It's a weird character because he is being helpful for selfish reasons, but also I feel like he believes in Clarice a little bit. And Buffalo Bill is expendable to him. He doesn't mean anything to him. He doesn't care if he's caught or not. I mean, he kind of like thrives off that pain that Buffalo Bill is causing, because remember he said like he when he made that comment to Senator Martin about like, how does it feel to like once have breastfed a child and now she's missing? Like, what are you going to do when she's on the slab? And like, he sipped in her pain is like what it said.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
The way he wrote that, I was like, oh, yes. Yeah, there were like different sentences he would come up with. And I was like, yes, honey.
Very descriptive.
Yeah. And so, oh my God, I literally just turned to the page.
How about that? And it's like right in the middle of the book, too.
I was just about to say, it's like dead center in the book.
Huh.
Sus. Super sus. But yeah, so it's like he's like this weird, oh yeah, here we go. Took a single sip of her pain and found it exquisite.
Ugh. Yeah.
What's that taste like? Pain tastes like PBR going down the wrong tube.
And then you cough a little bit and like it burns your nose a little.
Did I ever tell you about the one time I went out with a group of girls? And I didn't know this one girl well, so I don't feel bad saying the story. But like, we were out and like some guys bought drinks or whatever. And by the time I was like not interested in drinking, so I'm just like, I'll just watch. And this girl that I'm with, literally first time I'm meeting her, takes a shot, throws it back, and everything's fine. And then like a couple minutes later, finally the guys get the point and they leave. And she was like, yeah, I threw up in my mouth and I swallowed it. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, when I took that shot just now, I threw up in my mouth. And I swallowed it. Like, I ate my throw up. And I was like, what's that taste like? Like, what's that taste like? And
also the control to not.
That's what I said. I said, I don't know about her.
That would have come out of my mouth.
Later on,
I would have ruined everyone's night.
Sipping people's pain, I imagine, would taste something like something like that. But so you're like constantly stuck in between like, go Dr. Lecter, and then like, no, Dr. Lecter. Yes, Dr. Lecter.
Yeah, because he's so smart and just, I don't know if intuitive is the right word, but I don't know. He's just a genius. And so yeah, it's like, damn, like you want to see the potential of this character, but then he's also a complete sociopath.
Right.
With
like murders anyone in his way, pretty much.
Yeah, will literally bite people's like faces off.
That was another kind of animalistic thing about him, how he always went for biting. It was like very much like a dog would fight, you know, or something, or like a werewolf would fight. They go for like the big veins just naturally with their teeth. It's just like, I don't know. I think that kind of definitely added to his almost like animal, not human nature.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And when the 6 fingers on his hand, I really liked, because it made me think like, I kind of had a thought for a second, like, what did Dr. Lecter look like when he was like a kid with 6 fingers, you know, like,
yeah, how was growing up for him?
Right. And if this is in the 80s and he's like 50 at this time, means he was born in like the 30s, like 40s, grew up in that time. That's a rough time for kids, I feel like, you know,
with any sort of like deformity too.
Exactly. So I'm sure he got picked on a lot. So then it makes me think like, okay, was he always like this, or did something happen to where, almost like Buffalo Bill, where if Buffalo Bill was still himself, but he wouldn't be himself if what happened to him didn't happen. But I'm wondering, like, if his mom would have stayed sober and like, been able to raise him, and he'd had a semi-normal childhood, like, would he have still gone on and do this stuff? Because if someone's that driven, to wear people as outfits.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's somebody that has reached a level of thinking that is no longer realistic. I mean,
Like rational.
right. So like, did he like reach psychosis? Like, because he didn't have that that profile in the beginning, that's what made me think like maybe he killed once and kind of got like a taste for it, and then maybe he had already had this inclination, adding on with his mom kind of neglecting him and him always wanting to be accepted like that. You know, maybe he grew into a monster. Like, maybe he wasn't always a monster.
Yeah. Well, did he kill his grandparents before or after he was taken away from his... Wait, did he went to live with them after?
Yeah, he killed his grandparents when, I don't know when exactly it was. I think they were the first kill though.
Mm-hmm.
And that very much is like the Ed Kemper serial killer that exists in reality now. I think he's still alive. Like, he killed his grandparents before he went on a rampage years and years later, because he got put into a correctional facility that kind of taught him how to be a better criminal, and so did Buffalo Bill. So like, they definitely have similarities in that way, where it's like, because now he's been put in this environment where you know, kids are bored all day and smart a lot of those times. They're just really understimulated kids, and so they act up. You know, they pretty much teach each other how to become even worse, and that's where he learned how to sew. And I think where some of that self-hatred must have come on, and kind of that worthlessness that he felt.
Yeah. And then the fact that with Klaus, was he in love with Klaus? Because then there's like, there could be that factor of being gay and like it being like the 70s and 80s, and even that like not being like widely socially acceptable too, and having to like navigate like that part of himself. And then like, yeah, having to like hide probably like that part of himself to an extent too.
Yeah, I know. I always wonder that, because I think he would probably be maybe like identified as like, I mean, obviously everyone's on a spectrum, but asexual with more like homosexual more than heterosexual kind of tendencies. So I would definitely see how that would contribute to kind of like misunderstanding himself, and like automatically, if he's already kind of predisposed to violence, you just turn to violence because it's an easier thing and it makes you feel better for a moment. And then just becoming maybe obsessed over, okay, how do I become accepted and beautiful and who I want to be, who I think I want to be? I'll just emulate my mom. How do I do that? I'll just kill people to get it, you know, and I'll just build a suit.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, not like a rational thought.
No, definitely not. It's not your neighborhood. But that was the thing too, is like, he was kind of a creep on the outside, but they never really went into like, obviously he lived in Miss Littman's house because he killed her, but it's like, what did he do for money? Was he growing those moths? Was he selling them? Was he like breeding them? Was he like, did he do odd jobs? Like, always, like, I know in the movie he worked for Miss Littman, and in the book he worked for Miss Littman too for a little bit. Like,
yeah.
That's it. I was like, how is this person getting all of these like supplies and stuff? You know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because yeah, I remember like reading about how the moths he would purchase from like tropical places.
Yeah, you know, those are expensive. Expensive. Oh, and we never really went into the two scientists at...
Yeah, which weren't in the movie at all.
Almost at all. No. Yeah. And like at the very end, Pilcher and Starling pretty much have sex, right? Like they like hook up, or at least
in the
like
book?
Hang out, or maybe she has a dream about it in the book. Yeah. And in the movie, she's like not once, and that's it.
I remember really liking those characters in the book. And like the Smithsonian and stuff. I liked like her having to go there. It was like a very nice like
comedic break.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it was like a kind of a I don't know why they would kind of go too much into it, but I feel like the process that they went through to kind of identify that bug was really interesting, and kind of, being able to just go off of one another. I wish they would have showed that, but
yeah,
that should go.
The limited series.
Girl.
Get all that.
You could have an entire half of an episode of them debating which bug it is. Truly. Like
that could be the plot for the episode.
All right, I'm gonna start reaching out to people on LinkedIn, like Netflix executives that don't check their LinkedIn's at all. I'm gonna be like, "Hi,
I have a pitch for you that you've probably never heard before. Have you heard of this little book called Silence of the Lambs?"
They made a movie a little bit ago about it. It was like well received.
Pretty well received.
I'll start writing letters. I love a good letter. I've gotten to the point where I've started leaving reviews on things now. Like I'm like in that Karen stage. Dawn and I were talking like, what's the point before a Karen, where you're like in your 30s and you're like, starting to turn into a Karen. What did we say it was? A Misty or something? I don't remember, but it was something like that, or like I can't remember. But I feel myself starting to do that, or like I'll trip on
like a Kristen.
Yeah, a Kristen, exactly. No offense to any Kristens out there, but
no, of course not. I'm just thinking I'm going off of Karen.
Yeah. Like we saw a lady trip on the sidewalk, an old lady trip a little bit on the sidewalk the other day. A little bit, just a tiny bit, just enough to kind of give her a little, oh, I'm a little embarrassed. And she starts yelling at the deli guy who's just like loading up the apples. She's like, I don't make the sidewalks. I don't know what you want me to say.
Oh my God.
This needs to be, and it's like,
ew, she just needs somebody to take out her anger.
Yeah. So whenever I leave reviews, I feel little parts of myself starting to die and become that Karen tissue.
Like what kind of reviews?
I'm like, oh, this desk 4 stars, slightly wobbly.
Honest reviews, like though.
These are consumer questions. Was it wobbly?
Yeah, that would be an FAQ.
Yeah. So it's not like, you're
not just like doing it just to be spiteful.
Although I did leave a 1-star review for a restaurant around here because the music was so loud and so terrible that Dawn and I actually ate as quick as we could so we could get out of there.
Damn.
The music was so loud. This is pre-COVID. So loud. So
what
loud.
Kind of music?
It was like your top 100 hits.
Oh.
But like not Kids Bop, but like Kids Bop version. It was like, we don't want to listen to this. I was like, this is not sexy mood right now. Like, I was like, it was like, I had like a cute outfit on. I was like, this is not.
It completely kills the vibe.
Terrible. Like, he's like, oh my God, it was terrible. And you know what? We actually live like 2 blocks away from it now, the restaurant.
That's a damn shame.
Every time we pass by, I spit on the pavement a little bit. No.
I feel like we've covered.
I think we have too. The bad thing about such an intricate, super spiderwebby book like this is it becomes a super intricate spiderwebby podcast.
I liked doing it how we did it this time though, like intertwining the movie and the book rather than like making things.
Exactly. Yeah. I 100% agree. I think it was a good way to go. All right, so that's literally the end. Alex, I realize now we have been recording for 3.5 hours.
Oh my God, have we?
But yeah, so that was a beautiful, I think, and completely like natural way to just pick up where we left off.
I think so too. This makes me I feel like we haven't missed a whole 1.5 years.
Don't miss a beat. That's how you know we're friends for the rest of eternity.
Friends for life.
You're tied to me.
Roommates for life.
Roommate for life. Oh my God, I remember that. I have to be so conscious because this microphone's so loud that if I get too close,
it sounds
blow your
so
ears
good
out when you're editing it. You're gonna be like, what the hell, Haley?
It's been good in my ears, so hopefully
good. Yeah, you sounded good.
I'm sure
too.
It'll be good.
And I mean, this whole like Zoom thing is super new, and I think we've done a really good job at it. Every time we do anything minimal, I'm like, let's congratulate ourselves for 15 minutes. Like,
okay, so next month we're going to read The Shining by Stephen King.
Stephen King. Did you know that's my mother-in-law's name, Stephen King?
That's amazing. That's a great name. Oh,
But he goes by Mackenzie.
Mm.
But when they got married, he was like, oh, Stephen King. I was like, oh.
I go by Stephen King.
Hell yeah, I would too. I don't know why. I think his dad might go by Stephen. Maybe that's why. Anyway, The Shining. Stephen King.
We're going to probably do a hybrid February-March month with that one because it is longer and I need to go find it and purchase it.
And February is your birthday month. You got to focus on that 25, you know, and spending quality time with the man.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like kind of gross this year. I'm actually like kind of excited for Valentine's Day. Not that we're gonna do anything for it, but I'm like,
oh, this month I'm so happy. Oh my, I'm about to just unplug this and walk out. I am so happy. Yeah, so I think The Shining, because it is a long book too, and it is a very another one like this where it's very spider webby and kind of flashing back and forth between scenes, and like I said, you kind of get to go crazy, unfortunately, for lack of a better word, with Jack. So I think it's a great book.
Yeah, and we might have a new platform next time, which I'm sure will probably be like on Instagram about more.
Yeah.
Ahead of time.
Yeah. But that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Some opportunity for some live.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun. And I think it'll be a good exercise in self-restraint because boy, can I ramble.
Well, that's what makes it like such a fun thing to do. Like, I feel like just going off on tangents with you is what I enjoy most.
So The Shining, I'm stoked about it. I'm ready. My body's ready. Movie's great. Movie, I think, has a lot of tea with it, you know, with Stephen King and Stanley Kubrick. So it'll be interesting to talk about that and kind of that dichotomy. I just learned what that word meant the other day and I've been using the hell out of it.
Can you give us a definition?
Dichotomy, I don't know the exact definition, but the definition that I understand, the Haley Black definition, is when it's completely two like opposite things.
I see. Yeah. No, that's a good
Can you use it in a sentence?
Yeah. Can you please spell it for us?
Dichotomy. Yeah, actually, I think it has one of those like CH where it's like a silent, one of the spelling bee things where you see, have you seen that video of that kid at the spelling bee and he like can't think of how to spell it? And I think he just faints.
No.
Yeah, he is like a little kid, or maybe he just runs off the stage and cries. Maybe I think he faints because I think everybody was like, "Is he okay?" And he couldn't spell like chrysanthemum or something. Yeah, he's just like,
I can't spell chrysanthemum.
I can barely say chrysanthemum.
I remember the spelling bee, like when I was in elementary school, I got eliminated because I spelled break wrong. Like I spelled it like a car break instead of like a school break. And like somebody had gone before me and spelt it the wrong way. And then I was in my head like, oh, I need to just spell it the other way. And then I went up there and spelled it the exact same way. And I was so embarrassed.
That's one of those moments that you'll remember on your deathbed. You'll be like, oh shit. You think about all your regrets in life, you're going to be like, motherfucker. I will leave.
BREAK.
Let me know when those lambs go silent, Alex. Let me know like, when you can get them silent. I love it. Well, good. Well, then we're on track and we're going to make it happen and it's going to be beautiful and I'm ready.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody who is back after our hiatus. Thank you for sticking with us.
Amen. And we hope to do you justice in the future.
Yeah. I'm excited for this rebirth of the bitches.
I love it. The bitches. It's us.
That's us.
Oh my God. Oh, no, I'm ready to cry again. Jesus Christ. All right. I'm going to get off this phone before I start crying. All right. I love you so much.
I love you too.
All right. Bye, bitches. Mwah.
Mwah.